Garden reports.
The rules prohibit serving food after 10 p.m. and also prohibit anyone from sitting at indoor bars. Governor Phil Murphy says the regulations are designed to limit sustained close contact between patrons at the bars. The charges could lead to a minimum 10-day suspension.
When commercials come on, don't push the button. Instead, listen. Even if you don't sell things for a living, you're still selling in the various conversations and transactions that make up your busy day. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. So take a lesson from Madison Avenue. Often the fewer words, the more effective the message. Like Jiffy Lube, where you never need an appointment, or the Office Max ad that says, you supply the ambition, we supply everything else. How about online ticket broker StubHub.com, the way in when it's sold out, or CyberCupidMatch.com's seductive, go ahead, it's okay to look. How cleverly and succinctly can you distill your message? For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Like many young inner-city students, Chicago area high school sophomore Brandy Perkins struggles every day to motivate her teachers. The frustrated 16-year-old talked to Onion reporters this morning to discuss the challenges she faces in reaching out to her underperforming educators.
Connecting with the teachers gets harder and harder every year. We all come in every morning eager to learn, but most of the teachers just seem completely uninterested in education. One of my teachers, Miss Manley, has been particularly hard to work with. She was quiet at first, but she showed some potential. I thought maybe she just needed a little time to come out of her shell, but as the weeks went by, she just sat there listlessly at her desk, never talking or participating. It just makes you feel so helpless.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. We are kicking off another live Saturday show. That means that you can take control of the airwaves and bring up whatever happens to be on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
The Reverend Captain Kickass is here.
And Mark.
All right. So, of course, you can bring up anything you want. I actually had a pretty interesting day today. It was more productive than I had expected it to be.
Oh?
I whenever I go out to an event like a protest, I don't know what to expect sometimes, right?
That's just entertainment for you.
You never really know what to do or what's going to happen. But today was particularly interesting. There were a few noteworthy things to discuss from what was the final, quote, stop the steal, unquote. I don't know if you've heard about these things.
The final?
Yep.
Well, I mean, it has to be the
over.
final one, right? Because the official election results for the national election for the presidential election come on Monday, I believe.
No.
So that's when the electors will release whatever their votes are that purportedly, certainly most people think it's likely going to be Joe Biden. There are some conspiracy theorists, who think that somehow Trump can pull a rabbit out of his hat at the last minute, I'm sure.
Well, I think at this point it's out of Trump's hands. It's possible that some states may withhold their electors, and I would presume that means it would have to be states that elected Biden, which there are a few Republican states, and I think it's like their House or their Senate that sends the electors on to Washington, so they could withhold them. And if they withhold them and Biden doesn't get 270,
then what?
Then it goes to the U.S. House.
And they vote on it?
Where each state gets one vote. Remember, there's 435 drunken thieves that work in the U.S. House. Some of them probably don't drink.
You guys ever see any of those Hellraiser movies?
No.
They got the little puzzle box that you have to move all the pieces just the right way to summon the demon.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. It's exactly like that. So instead of the 435 people voting, which would result in a Democratic victory, the states each get one vote.
Oh, interesting.
So their, their representatives then vote, as one, And so there's 50 votes to be had, and there's actually, it would be very likely that it would go Republican in that
because there's more red
circumstance.
states. Because most of the blue population is in cities.
Yes.
And that swings certain states heavy in population, but not so much so normally California and New York, for instance, have a high amount of electors that vote because of the population of those states.
Now,
and
if this
would
were to,
even things out in a
If this
way.
were to happen, expect some kind of violence, civil war.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
basically, this would be the closest thing to a steal that you've got going. Right? I mean, the idea that if the Republican states that went blue during this election decide that, their voters or whatever shouldn't be honored, it's going to be ugly.
But the odds that something like that are going to happen are very, very slim.
I kind of like it when, I like the, exploring the idiosyncrasies of the document, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this would be completely legal.
Right.
But it may not necessarily be.
In which case, it's not a steal.
What's best? Well, no, yes, it is.
Not if it's legal.
Hold on. The government steals all the time. Do you believe that taxation is
not
theft?
If it's. Well, look, I agree with you there, but from their perspective, if it's legal, it's not theft.
Right. Well, I agree with you that they, whomever the statists, all of them deserve the government that they get.
Although, at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if the leftists all of a sudden started chanting "Stop the Steal" as a result of that.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Stop the steal is just bad English, and I don't like it.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Can we all just secede now, all the states?
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, Captain, was because the folks down there in Texas, they're talking.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, not at all. You can have it.
Texas thunder.
Texas, well, everything's bigger in Texas down there, and the movement towards secession is
you need to talk to them
noteworthy.
about Alaska.
What's that?
Need to talk to them about Alaska.
Yeah, they don't have as many people there. But in Texas, it's a very, very big place, and there's a lot of people there that support secession, including apparently the chairman of the Texas Republican Party now. So it was yesterday that we were telling you about a Republican representative in Texas, one of many, who is proposing a piece of legislation that would be a referendum for Texans to vote on the idea of seceding from the United States.
Well, and you've got a mini business migration movement going on in Texas as well. Elon Musk,
sure, California businesses
moved his headquarters, the Tesla headquarters, and several other smaller businesses that I only saw the headline, but apparently not only did Musk move his business, but a couple other businesses have followed behind him.
You don't have to go that far, and you've got a much more business-friendly climate in a state like Texas compared to California. So I get that.
They could move to New Hampshire. That'd be better.
Yeah, I'd rather have liberty-minded people moving to New Hampshire, but we'll take what we can get, I guess.
Well, Elon Musk claims to be some level of libertarian.
He has claimed that. I don't know if I believe
There are
him.
many libertarians who are fans of Elon Musk, although I don't know that he's ever said, I'm a libertarian or whatever.
The term has been used in conjunction with his name.
We can come back to this. I do want to talk about secession, but also we've got James on the line. He's in Kentucky. To start things out here, James, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind, James?
Well, I just wanted to talk about this corona crap. And this is what I really feel about it.
All right.
Well, have you all ever heard of the... write this down. Anybody got a pen?
No, is this Jamie Told You So from back in the day? Did you used to call us?
Jamie Told You So back in the day, and I'm telling you so right now.
All right.
Excellent.
Well, hey, nice to hear your voice again. All right, tell me so about Corona. What's up?
We'll write that down. Jamie Told You So called.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's all about, okay? VMAT2. It's called the muscular transporter. Well, you got to look it up yourself.
Well, what the hell is it? What are you talking about?
Is it an airplane?
No, this is another name for it. It's called the God gene.
Okay. And what's that mean?
Okay, it's called something about a transporter and stuff. And this thing, they stick up your nose to check out the stuff. If you got the corona,
the swab.
Well, it goes up your your nasal.
Yeah, it goes way up there. It looks like it looks really uncomfortable.
That's what they're after. They're trying to knock out the God gene.
Okay, I'm probably going to regret asking you to define the God gene, but can you tell me what that's supposed to mean?
I've looked it up.
I'm looking right at it.
Okay.
I got it right here in my hand.
Okay, but what is it?
Vascular, M-O-N-O-A-M-I-N.
That's not making anything clearer to me.
Monoamine transporter 2.
Okay, but what is
it? That's the VMAT2. It's a predisposes humans towards spiritual or mythic experiences.
Oh.
This is a theory. The idea has been proposed by geneticist Dean Hamer in the 2004 book The God Gene, How Faith is Hardwired into Our Genes. The God gene hypothesis is based on a combination of behavioral genetics, neurobiology, psychological studies. The major arguments of the hypothesis are: 1, spirituality can be qualified by psychometric measurements. 2, the underlying tendency to spirituality is partially heritable. 3, part of this heritability can be attributed to the gene VMAT2. 4, this gene acts by altering monoamine levels, whatever that is. And 5, spirituality provides an evolutionary advantage by providing individuals with an innate sense of optimism.
So are you saying...
I would say that it also creates unit cohesion.
Jamie, are you saying that you believe that the COVID test somehow eliminates the God gene from people and makes them less spiritual? Is that what you're saying?
No. What's coming up is going to eliminate it. It's called the vaccine.
You're saying the vaccine will eliminate it. Okay.
Yeah, and listen here. It's on YouTube. A lot of people's saying it's conspiracy theory, but this guy's talking about it himself. Pentagon briefing removes the God gene. And he's talking about it, and he's got it up on the wall.
Well, one thing's for sure, we don't know what this vaccine is going to do. The
vaccine's going to make us all atheists.
Thank you for the call, Jamie. It's nice to hear from you again, though. I do appreciate it. We don't know what this thing's going to do. In fact, I don't know if they know what this vaccine is going to do. They've done some testing.
I like my medicines to have been around for at least a year. Yeah. Just saying.
855-450 free. If you want to join us, you can take control of the airwaves. Bring up what you want. Secession is in the air again. Maybe it's finally time. It's Free
I
Talk
love
Live.
The smell of secession.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur. And Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work. So I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Free Talk Live.
It's not just zoning rules, it's everything.
It's true.
It's everything.
There's so many rules.
So many laws. You can't possibly know them. It's physically an impossibility to know the laws. You know not to hurt other people. I don't need a law telling me to do that. But the rest of them? Totally inaccessible.
It's true.
It's written in legalese. If you don't have training in reading that crap, it might as well be a foreign language. And as you pointed out, it doesn't matter if you can read it.
I thought I had them dead to rights. And these bureaucrats, they just like, no, we do whatever we want here at the zoning board.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'll kiss our butts.
Peon, serf,
you'll
slave.
You'll do what we say.
Yeah. Why label them citizens?
Oh.
Why not just call it what it is? You're a serf. You're a slave.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. Live Saturday edition here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and you can call us on our server. We've got a chat server. It's called Matrix. That's the technology that's behind it. It's an open-source, self-hosted chat server, which means that there is nobody hanging an axe over our heads anymore as far as our chat rooms are concerned, which means there's basically no moderation anymore because no one can shut me down, so I really don't care what you post.
It'll be
for the
anarchy.
most part. For the most part. There are a few exceptions, but we haven't had to make those exceptions yet, so I'm happy with the server so far. So that's good. If you haven't checked it out, please go to chat.lrn.fm. If you're not happy with the rooms that we got there, just make your own. No problem. You can do that. Chat.lrn.fm. There's also instructions there on how to call the show through that server, and then you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. Coming up, Texas GOP chairman is now speaking in favor, it sounds like, of secession for the big state and maybe others. He's actually talking about states forming a new union to secede, sounds like, together from the United States.
This is something that I've sort of thought of over time is that one sort of wonders why. Like, why do we go through this battle every 4 or 8 years where we fight and fight and fight over the red states, putting in their guy versus the blue states putting in their guy? Because all it's about is a threat to the other folks. Like, we don't like the way you live, and we don't like the way you think. So we're going to go and we're going to shove the most distasteful person we can find down your throat, and you're going to live with it because that's what we said. And why? Why do we go through that particular ritual when...
I think it's because some of them really want to shove something down the other person's throat.
And I do. I mean, like, there are a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that just make me ill. And I understand why, like I said in the 2016 election regarding Donald Trump, if I could vote to release a truckload of leprositic wombats on Washington, D.C. every single day for the next 4 years, I would vote to do that. But Donald Trump is running, and it's about as close as I can get.
Every now and again, the idea of secession has, come to past my view in my 48 years of being on this planet. Never once has it seriously happened. So I have little hope. But also, I'm slightly optimistic. So I would, if the 80-20 rule applies, 80% of me is like, it's not going to happen. 20% of me is like, wow, I really hope it happens.
20% is a good start as far as I'm concerned. And my experiences in talking with people about secession are generally positive, I would say.
Yeah.
I haven't had any hostile, very, very little hostile.
I just wish everybody could
results.
spell it properly.
Instead of succeed instead of secede, which is how it's properly pronounced and spelled?
What I like about secession, I don't think what I would say regarding Texas is that Texas is probably not going to be as well off after secession as it would be before it.
Why?
Because
they're a huge economy. They've got all kinds of natural resources.
It's part of the largest and most powerful federated union on the planet. Why would it want to give up things like
for independence?
Yeah, but independence gives them what?
The ability to self-direct themselves, to make choices that they're not otherwise able to make under the federal government system.
Which choices are you referring to?
Have you ever seen all the regulations the federal government has? I mean,
Texas
that's a
would have
business
to have
killer.
its own regulations once it doesn't have
It
that.
doesn't have to adopt the federal regulations.
It does not. But
there's nothing saying states have to have regulations. That's a thing that control freaks do.
Generally the federal government will strong-arm the states to
Shove them
conform
down
to
their
its
throat.
will.
Yeah.
We
can come back to this here in a moment. I want to go to Brian. He's on the line in Seattle, Washington. You're on Free Talk Live, watching us on Twitch.
Hey, Ian, how are you?
Hey, Brian, what's on your mind?
Oh, secession. I love it. Thanks for bringing it up all the
Sure.
time. I think it needs to be, I think you guys always think about the big picture of secession as political things moving.
Mm-hmm.
I think this needs to be brought down to the individual level. If individuals withdraw their consent individually and take themselves out of whatever organization they're in that supports the tyranny, the whole thing collapses in a day.
I've been doing this for a long time. We formed the Shire Society back in 2010. It's been a decade now. Back at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, it is basically a declaration of individual independence from the state. It's basically what you're talking about. You can go to shiresociety.com. You can read the declaration there. You can sign it online. You can print one out and sign it in person for yourself. You can sign it in your mind. But there have been thousands upon thousands of people who have gone on record and signed the Shire Society Declaration, but the state hasn't fallen yet. So I think that really you got to go further than that. I mean, it's a good thought experiment, and it's a good sort of mentally freeing thing to say, well, I like this Shire Society Declaration. I agree with it. I'm putting my signature on it. Boom, done, dated, signed. You're in, you're out, or you're out of the old society, the state society. You're into the Shire Society. Congratulations. But unfortunately, you physically are still usually in a place that finds you surrounded by status, that finds you surrounded by people who don't agree with you.
Responsible to each other. If your neighbor is a mid-level secretary in a 3-letter agency, don't talk to her. When she comes to the farmer's market booth, don't sell stuff to her.
Yeah,
make her a pariah.
I've angered a friend of mine's wife.
We all need to get
Brian.
involved and speak up.
Yeah, I've angered a friend of mine's wife who works a government job, and of course, I say things all the time like, well, you're just leeching off of the, taxpayers, et cetera, and so on. And so, I'm not welcome around her anymore because
and
of
it
that.
only means something when you don't take her money and refuse.
Yeah, but the
her
thing is, it
service
only
or being
really
a part
means
of the
something, Brian.
establishment.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. Hold on, I don't disagree with what you're saying. But if you go to the farmers market in Seattle, which I'm sure they're not having right now due to COVID, but if you were to
no, I'm shut down.
Right.
Losing money every
So if
week.
you go to the farmers market in Seattle and some bureaucrat comes and you know that they're a city bureaucrat or whatever, because most of them you wouldn't know because there's so many
and
of
I will
them.
tell them to get away from my
Right.
booth, and I will.
That's
not
great.
sell to them.
But the problem is probably most of the people at the farmers market are going to be willing to sell to them. So there just aren't enough people who are willing to do the sort of ostracism that you're talking about in order for it to have the effect that you want to have.
Amongst each other later, right? That they succumb because they don't want to be seen as the bad guy, and the politicians are going to screw them over and hurt them if they don't kiss their ass. But they'll bitch to the other vendors after the fact of how evil they are and how they hate to have to service those jerks. So, yeah, stand up, people. Now
Yeah, I just don't see it catching on. I mean, Captain, you used to live in Seattle. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I'm with him in the theory that, yes, if we are going to begin seceding, that, we should follow that for the same exact reasons from the largest level, which is the federal government, down to the state level, down to the county level, the city level, the town level, and then, of course,
we
the
gotta
individual
go the
level.
other way. It can only ever be an individual act. Groups don't act. Humans do.
Sure. I mean, it has to be grassroots. There's no doubt about it. But what do you think, Captain, about like trying to do this in Seattle? Would it actually have an effect if, the number of people who support individual secession were
to I left Seattle specifically because I don't think that whatever's going on there
Seattle's pretty statist.
Is forwarding liberty.
As soon as we stop feeding them, they die.
Well, hold on. So this has been done. It's not new. There have been several restaurants throughout the years that have had stories where they refuse to serve cops.
Yeah.
When a cop comes in,
I think there was one in Portland or Seattle.
I think so too. A cop comes in, they're like, "You're making our customers unhappy. You'll have to depart."
Yeah.
They kick them out.
Yeah.
And
it's their right to do that.
At this point, police departments across the country aren't shutting down.
No doubt about it. Brian, thank you for the call tonight. I do appreciate it. He's not wrong with what he's saying, but you've got to have a concentration of people in one area, and that's why we're moving to New Hampshire.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
Who told you can go this way? You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you can take control of the airwaves here. It's the live Saturday episode. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And for a long time, liberty-minded people that care about freedom, they've wanted to have a good online business directory. And there were some pretty lackluster attempts over the years. And then came Liberty.menu. And it's actually been around for a couple years now. Liberty.menu allows you to go and create your business, put it up there on the map. Let other freedom-friendly people know where you are, what you do, and maybe you'll get some new clients out of the deal. You never know. It doesn't hurt to try it. It is free to put your pinpoint there on the map, and you can have more than one. So you got more than one business, put them all up there. If you have an event that you're promoting, put that up there too. Somebody was just asking me tonight about. They were talking about creating an event here in New Hampshire and like what's the best platform to put it on. I said, just put it on liberty.menu and then use that link to put it on Facebook and Twitter and these other centralized platforms.
Right, because then these monopolistic bastards can't take it down.
They can't take the event down.
Right. They can take your post down.
They can take the post
down. But the
down.
event remains.
Right. And that saves you time, right? Because then you don't have to go and recreate the event. You still have the event. You just have to find a way to post that link somewhere else. So get over to liberty.menu. You can do, activist organizing there. If you've got digital content you're the creator of, you can put that up there. Liberty.menu. As we go back to your calls and thoughts, we got Larry. He's in Indiana. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Larry.
Hey, you guys, you talk about secession.
Yes.
You can forget about that because in Texas, I'm sure about maybe 30% of their population is on disability or food stamps or Section 8 or any of the other government programs that was put in place to stop just that. So that's not going to happen. And
I see what you're saying. You're saying a lot of people are going to vote against secession because they want the gravy train from the federal government to keep rolling, and they're worried that they are going to run out of that if they are no longer part of the United States. And I can see that's going to be a big concern that people are going to have to overcome, and that is going to be a challenge. But I wouldn't write off secession just because some people are going to oppose it. I think that it's something that people need to start talking about. And as far as taking care of people that are legitimately in need, because there's the people that abuse the system, and then there's actually some people that are really falling on hard times, and they could probably use a hand up, that sort of thing. What you could say is that the state could have programs, not that I'm advocating for more government in Texas, but they probably already have certain programs that already exist. And remember, if people aren't being robbed by the federal government, if you're not paying whatever amount in taxes that you're currently paying to the federal government, all of that is money that could be donated to local charities, because it's always better to give it to a charity than let the government take it. But local food banks or churches, people that actually do want to help the homeless and take care of the sick and the poor, you would have more money flowing into those charities than have ever happened before in Texas, at least since the income tax has been around. And it would give people the ability to make choices with their money and choices about which charities to support. So actually, you'd probably end up seeing people getting helped better in the absence of the federal government. But that's a lot to explain. Go ahead.
I have to disagree with you because you can't afford to do that. We have things here in town that are going on with the charitable and feeding garbage to people when they come and pick up their weekly allotment. So that's what it's going to boil down to.
You're saying people can't afford to donate to charity? Is that what you're saying?
They can't do it, and it's never going to change because the law.
Well, that's awfully negative. I mean, I don't see any reason to be so negative.
No, I think it should stop right immediately.
What do you think people did before government programs, though, Larry?
They done the best they could. But
are you advocating for government welfare?
No, I'm advocating for the mitigation to stop so that our laws will change and to be in accordance with
what mitigation?
With what our criminal system is doing to people.
What do you what mitigation? You've completely lost me now. What are you saying?
When I talk about mitigation, when you have churches coming to the table like they can stop the murder rate, we can do this and we can do that. They need to go.
Oh, you've got an axe to grind with churches. I remember you've called me about that before.
No, I don't. But anyway,
yeah, you do.
Gears on you. Here I go to the vital statistics, right? Now, last year in 2018 and 2019, the death rate in this country was 10.5%, right?
Okay.
10.5%. That's about 3.5 million people, right, dying from when COVID was not around, right?
Okay.
So now, when you have a situation where you've got 300,000 people dying of the supposed COVID, then that's awful suspicious to me. And I think that all they're doing is trying to get us, back us into a corner, because tell them where I live, this is what's going on. They have so many people on disability and on welfare and food stamps and so forth that they want to shut down. They wanted to shut down, and I thought about it.
Who wants it to shut down? You're saying the people on welfare?
The people that are on pensions, the people that are on staff, the people that are on disability, the people that are getting pensions.
What are you saying they want to shut down? You said they want to shut down. What do you mean?
They want the economy shut down completely.
Why? Why would people on welfare want to shut the economy down? I mean, they could be completely ignorant, but that would mean they wouldn't be able to get any of their food. They wouldn't be able to get anything. Thank you, Larry, for the call tonight. I mean, that's just. I understand that folks in those positions probably aren't the most economically intelligent people. They're not well educated on economics or anything like that. But I mean, I can't imagine people would be like, "Yeah, shut down all the factories, shut down all the restaurants." I don't think people actually want to see that happen. I think people are, from what I've seen, people are pretty disappointed in what the politicians have been doing, shutting people's businesses down.
The politicians pull that crap all the time. We're going to have to cut, grandma's disability check or whatever when they're trying to cut some program or whatever, right? Instead of cutting money from the military, which is where they really should cut it from.
Sure.
But they pull that guilt trip all the time. And so I don't know if he's just, saying, hey, it's not going to work because they're going to pull the old guilt trip, or if he was saying something completely different. I'm sorry, Larry, I don't understand.
So there are certainly people who want to shut down business around the world.
There are.
And there's not a small amount of them. Further, there are people who would rather take $600 in unemployment per week plus their unemployment than work.
No doubt.
That benefits them in the short term.
Absolutely. And those people are going to be against secession. I mean, Larry's right about that. The welfare queens out there are going to be against secession.
At this point, the numbers are about 50-50 of people who live in a family that receives a check from the federal from the government in some sort. So that's going to be an interesting question. Now, I looked up to see which states are most and least dependent on the federal government. Texas came up as number 34, meaning number 50 is the least. That's Kansas, by the way. California.
Where's New Hampshire?
30.
Okay.
Right in the middle of the pack. But everybody around.
New Hampshire is a donor state, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
is Texas? I suspect it is.
It would be because Texas is less dependent on the federal government than New Hampshire is.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And the reason that states tend to be dependent is because of the Federal Reserve, because money is created out of nothing and given to the federal government as a loan against your future tax dollars.
Right.
And the states get a lot of that money. Most of that money is distributed down. Much of that money is distributed down through the states, and the states want that money. So it's unlikely. This is my claim. I think that secession conversations are good in so much as states should be telling the federal government regularly, keep your hands to yourself. This isn't your job. You're supposed to handle post roads, whatever the heck those things are, the military, weights and measures, and I can't remember what the fourth thing is.
We're long past all of that.
Oh, we are well past that. But the reason that say the education department exists is because the federal government wants to give guidance. The states don't have to do what the federal government says. It's just they won't get the Title IX and the Title I and all the other grants on an annual basis that come down, and they want those. So they'll do the things that the feds suggest so that they can get the cash. And in many cases, the cash isn't even that much, but they want it anyway.
Our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE like freedom. You can bring up whatever's on your mind, although the overarching conversation so far tonight has been surrounding secession. There's a Texas GOP chairman, not just your typical Texas Republican, but their chairman saying that maybe secession is the answer. 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us here, this is Free Talk Live.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here, the live Saturday edition of the show. Take control of the airwaves at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Tonight, it's Ian.
I am the captain.
And Mark.
AnyPay 2.0 is here, and cryptocurrency payments are now faster than ever. If you're using Edge Wallet, Handcash, Bitcoin.com's wallet, or Dash Wallet, your experience will be smooth. But some wallets out there, they're just not ready for this impressive new technology that AnyPay has released. And those wallet programmers really need to hear from you. If you are a user of Koinomi, Exodus Wallet, Relay X, or Bread Wallet, and I'm sure there are others. But if you're a user of those wallets and you want them to be the best they can possibly be to make them useful for payments, because that's what cryptocurrency is originally intended to do, is to be like electronic cash.
A currency, right?
Yeah. So if that's something you want to see happen with those wallets, you got to reach out to them. You got to let them know that they need to implement this pay protocol that AnyPay is using. So not to get too technical, but if you want to learn a little bit about what the reason is that some wallets do work and others don't, and then get the contact information for those wallets that don't, go to anypayinc.com/upgrade, and you can do that there. That's anypayinc.com/upgrade. We've been talking about secession. It is back in the news in a big way this week, with Rush Limbaugh even covering the topic, I believe on his Wednesday, and then further doing an update, I believe, the following day after there was quite a bit of hubbub that came about over his comments, and then walking back the comments saying, well, I have never actually endorsed secession. I, however, do. Yes, we do. So let's go to Steve. He's in Connecticut. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Steve. You're a political refugee from Connecticut. How are you guys?
Hi, Steve. What's on your mind?
Yo.
Looks like Elon Musk has succeeded, or how would you say, seceded from California.
He succeeded at seceding.
That's just a migration, but you know what? It's still something.
He moved.
Yeah.
Right. So that in a way, citizens can do that to kind of get out of their own state. Obviously, you have to get out from under the federal government. Is there a way to financially secede?
Yes. Yeah. Financially. What was the rest of the question? Financially secede what?
For a state to financially secede.
That's an interesting question. Well, one thing they can do is do nullifications, right? Like they can tell the federal government, you can keep your money, we don't want to obey your rules. So New Hampshire, for instance, has done that for many years when it comes to the seatbelt law. The federal government has been dangling millions of dollars in front of...
By millions, you mean three.
That's still millions of dollars in front of the New Hampshire government for many years, and has said, oh, well, you can just have this money. All you got to do is pass a seatbelt law. And thankfully, the good people of New Hampshire and their so-called representatives have resisted the temptation.
Making them the only state in the union where an adult doesn't have to wear a seatbelt.
Correct.
But
they've taken plenty of other money from the
New
feds.
Hampshire takes plenty of money. Like on one hand, you have this notion that we're talking about here, a state financially succeeding, and this is sort of true when you're looking at places like, Kansas and Utah. They're accepting very, very little money. By the way, the Democrats would love you to believe that only Democrat states pay taxes and only Republican states receive taxes. They're absolutely wrong. Mm-hmm. It's mixed up
all
across
over
the map. Yeah. It doesn't, it's an inaccurate statement.
Yeah.
Because they want to make it seem like big government works, and whether Republicans believe it or not. But you look at places like Puerto Rico, Guam, Saipan, American Samoa, U.S. Virgin Islands. These places would, in many cases, these are U.S. territories that would love to be states. And
not all of them. There's frequently people in Puerto Rico that vote down the idea of being a state.
Yeah, not everybody there, but by majority.
Sorry, Steve. What?
You were talking about donor states. So like New Hampshire sits 30th. So it actually pays more to the federal government than it gets back.
That's correct.
Okay, so you also have to take all of the money that goes to the bureaucracy of sending that money and then getting that money back. So why couldn't people in New Hampshire just send money to the Capitol? You could almost make it so the tax is so high in New Hampshire that check this out. So if you make it really expensive, like the taxes are very high in New Hampshire, it goes to the state, but the state pays the citizens back in crypto.
Yeah, I don't think we want to raise taxes. I mean, that's generally not a good plan.
No. You take the dollars in, but then the citizens get money back in crypto.
So
I don't want the state to be my crypto dealer.
Let's see. El Chapo. I'm going to use him.
The drug kingpin?
The drug kingpin. Would you like to send him a bunch of money and then ask him to send you back some cryptocurrency?
Well, that's what the federal government does. But
I'm not saying that they're not a bunch of thieves and liars and gangsters. As a matter of fact, I'm saying just that.
Well, and so I'm trying to think of a way to financially secede from the union.
Yeah, I've got another idea for you there. So
buy crypto.
Here's he's talking about the state seceding. He's talking about the state seceding from the federal government financially. Personally, buying crypto is a good plan for personal secession. You want to, disconnect yourself. Well, that's what ultimately matters, but that's not the question he asked.
I know.
He's asking about what can the state do. Unfortunately, we know the state isn't going to disappear tomorrow, so the whole idea of the state seceding from the federal government is one worth pursuing, in my opinion, because it does decentralize power to some extent, and it gives us more independence and more ability to sort of conduct our own affairs. But if you want to keep the state in the union, that's what you're talking about, right? Keep the state in the union, but disconnect financial ties?
Right. I mean, you can send your dollars to the state capitol and then get gold back.
I don't think the state's job should be to sell gold backs. I mean, why not just let people do that? And people are doing a fine job of that right now. But ultimately, as far as the state disconnecting from the federal government, if the state government were to accept cryptocurrency for tax payments, for instance, if the state were to make crypto or gold or silver
its official currency,
maybe acceptable currencies, because you wouldn't want to just have one of, right? But if the state could then accept those alternatives, that actually protects the state from inflation of the dollar. So to some extent, that would benefit the state.
You're getting off of the greenback. You're getting off of the Federal Reserve.
Correct.
That's how I'm saying the state can financially secede.
Right.
With their own printed money. I know.
Well, no, you don't want the state to print money, because then you've already started the process of creating a central bank over again, and we all know how that ends. So you don't want the state to issue its own currency. That is a recipe for disaster.
You want the separation of money and state.
Correct. If the state is going to hold funds, it's better that it holds real money, like a gold back or cryptocurrency. And so those are some ways also disconnecting from the federal handout programs that you could have some more autonomy for state governments. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah,
for the call tonight. I appreciate it. But ultimately, if you're going to cut those ties, why not just go ahead and cut them all and say goodbye completely to the federal government? I was saying this to one. There was only one guy I talked to today at the protests that I went to. I didn't get to this earlier, but I went to a couple protests in Concord today.
Yeah.
One of them was, quote, "Stop the steal." That there was one guy that didn't have a positive response to secession. He wasn't negative, like violent or anything like that. He was just like, I don't support that. And so, I always want to get feedback. Well, why is that? What do they do for you? I said to him. He says, well, they don't do anything for me. It's like, well, so what is it that...
Yeah, why would you not support that?
Yeah, what is it that you are so excited to keep these people around for? Well, why? He never really had a good answer for it.
I sure would like, one of the things that bothers me about the secession conversation is that I cross a lot of geopolitical lines, and I don't want it to be more difficult. I just had to get my bags shaken down by the Customs and Border Patrol of the United States.
So convenience is your reason to stay together?
Convenience is a good reason to do things.
How many dead people around the world is worth your convenience?
How many dead people is New Hampshire being in the United States have anything to do with anything?
That is a nonsensical question, whatever that was.
If you wanted to not pay taxes to the United States federal government, you would have moved to Saipan and
I don't pay taxes to the federal government.
Then what's the problem?
They exist, and the people of New Hampshire are being fleeced by them. See, the difference between me and you, one of them, is that you don't care about people.
New Hampshire want to be fleeced by the federal government.
See, that's the thing. You don't know. You don't spend much time here. You don't talk to these people. I was out, and I spoke to people today, and they certainly don't want to be fleeced by the federal government. Now, maybe some people do, but I bet you most of them were born in Massachusetts.
What percentage of people would have to agree to secession to make it legitimate? Do you think it should just be 50% plus one? Do you think it should be 60%?
Well, like I said, I think the individuals should secede, and I think if we get enough individuals
together.
That's not an
answer to my question.
Well, but to me, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, for political purposes, you would probably need more than 50%.
I think you should have more than 50%. I think it should be a clear majority. I don't know if 60, 66.
Yeah, if you're going to amend the New Hampshire Constitution, you're going to need 2/3.
Okay.
I think either that or 60%. It's either 60 or 66 point whatever, 67%. I forget which one it is.
Something like that.
It is a higher majority.
And when you start, when the campaign starts and people start hearing the other side of what the benefits are of being in the United States, I just don't
there's
think
going to be the loyalists. For
I don't
sure.
think you're lucky. I don't think you'll get a third, let alone a half or 2/3.
Well, I appreciate your negativity, but that's how you always are. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And that's why you want to run off to an island nation, and that's your right, man. So the rest of us are actually going to work towards freedom. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. Hour 2's coming up. Secession now.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Bear, the rescue dog, had very flaky skin, dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections. I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
Probably 6 weeks after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch. It was awesome.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Stamps.com brings the post office and UPS shipping right to your computer. Go to Stamps.com to start a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with promo code FOX. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the page and type in FOX.
Rolls out this weekend. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Pfizer's new COVID-19 vaccine, approved by the FDA on Friday, begins shipping out tomorrow with distribution to nearly 150 locations next week. President Trump spoke to Fox's Brian Kilmeade about it.
If I wasn't president, you wouldn't have a vaccine for 5 years, okay? I pushed the FDA and companies and everybody else involved like nobody's ever been pushed before, and now you have it rolling out.
The president speaking before attending today's Army-Navy game at West Point. The entire interview can be seen tomorrow morning on Fox and Friends. Meanwhile, President Trump suffered another loss in the courts. A federal judge in Wisconsin threw out a lawsuit he filed in hopes of overturning President-elect Joe Biden's win. Thousands of supporters of President Trump rallied in the nation's capital, many chanting 4 more years, claiming fraud in the election.
Not over till we say it's over. We won't stop fighting. We won't. And Donald Trump knows we will never stop fighting.
There were some reports of violence breaking out during the event, with one person reportedly being stabbed. A new development in the Hunter Biden investigation, Fox News obtaining an email that suggests he requested keys for his father, Joe Biden, to an office Hunter planned to share with the Chinese emissary.
This 2017 email, Hunter calls his dad and 2 Chinese businessmen with ties to the Communist Party, quote, office mates. In the email obtained by Fox News, Hunter writes this: please have keys made available for new office mates, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Jim Biden. The email also lists Chinese businessmen Gong Wendong and Chairman Ye Jiangming.
Fox's Hillary Vaughn. President-elect Biden has repeatedly denied any knowledge of his son's business dealings. America is listening to Fox News.
Life can be stressful, even under normal circumstances. 2020 has challenged even the most difficult times of life. These days, you need stress relief that goes beyond quick fixes. That's Headspace. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So, however today's news hits you, Headspace really can help you feel better. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and and increase your overall sense of well-being. Backed by 25 published studies on its benefits, Headspace has 600,000 five-star reviews and over 60 million downloads. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/Fox. That's headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/Fox today.
The federal government exercises its option to double its purchase of drug maker Moderna's coronavirus vaccine, which awaits FDA approval. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
Health and Human Services and the Defense Department are going to buy another 100 million doses of COVID vaccine from Moderna. That's on top of the 100 million the U.S. government's already ordered. But the Moderna vaccine has not been given emergency use authorization by the Food and Drug Administration like Pfizer's already gotten. That's supposed to be happening in the coming week. Moderna's promising to get 20 million doses delivered by the end of December, and the rest will go out in the new year. In Washington, Jill Nato, Fox News.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
A fully leveled up video game character marvels at how far he's come, and the milk rushing through a jug handle is having the time of its life. This is the Onion Week in Review. This week, top executives from the U.S. financial sector announced they're about ready to ruin the world again. Representatives from all major banking and investment institutions said that more than enough time has passed since they last caused a major global economic meltdown, and confirmed they're pretty much fully prepared to bring about a brand new worldwide financial crisis.
We feel like we've given people enough time to get comfortable again. Consumer spending has increased. Housing market has rebounded. So yeah, we're all set to go ahead and ruin the global economy again.
And in other news, the perfect gift for a local man is unfortunately a gift certificate to Lowe's Cinemas. Mall shoppers look on in awe as a helpless 15-year-old girl is viciously torn apart by a pack of her peers. And a drunk pilot decides to pull over onto a cloud until he sobers up.
You will now hear 3 gong strikes and a recitation of the great chant before being ushered to the hallowed garden. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour of the program. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. And in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Me, Captain.
And me, Mark.
So a couple of highlights before we go on with the story about the Republican Party GOP chairman in Texas now apparently backing the idea of secession, which is very exciting. I just kind of wanted to relay a couple of what I consider to be interesting highlights from the, quote, Stop the Steal rally that went on today. Actually, there was... So this has been going on for weeks, right? Since the election, the results were in question for some people, and some people believe that there's a chance that they could somehow turn the results around, that the media has jumped the gun and they've announced the wrong numbers.
So just to be clear, this is all about Trump, right? The Stop the Steal.
Yeah, that's all,
and
all about
they
Trump.
haven't added the ing to the end of their protest
That's
yet?
correct,
okay,
yeah. Which was one of the first points I made to them. They opened up to people that just wanted to speak.
Yeah.
So they went around with a sign-up form a few weeks ago when I was there for the first time. And of course, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll talk. So
I bet you did.
I talked about secession,
Nice.
and that was one of the points I made was, even if you do stop the steal, so-called, of this election, that will not stop the stealing, which will continue to go on under Trump, and went on under Trump, and continued to, has been going on under Obama and Bush and all the predecessors. So I followed that speech up today with another another one. But what was different today was the Stop the Steal rallies have been going on at noon, and this one was set apparently to start at 10 a.m., which is different. So when we got there, it was actually me and our other co-host, Nobody, that went up today. We carpooled up. And we got there, and it's like we were handed this sheet, which that didn't happen last time. And it was like an itinerary of who was going to speak. And so it was actually something different. I think they were calling it the Jericho March, named after the famous city that the Jesus people took down or whatever. By
the walls of Jericho.
Yeah, right, back in the day. And
I'm not even going to address that.
Was also a horrible science fiction series.
Was that before the Jesus thing or whatever? When was
that's
that? Okay.
Many hundreds of years before Jesus.
It's been a while since I've been to church, Mark.
The Israelites, it'd be even hard to call them Israelites at that point. They weren't in Israel.
Okay.
I mean, they were trying to get it back.
The horrible science fiction series had Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show, and I'm trying to remember the dude's name.
Was he a black Hebrew Israelite?
90210, and it was basically nuclear war, post apocalypse happens, and what does this small town do because they survived?
Sounds awful.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I knew about that. Yeah.
So anyway, it was like this super religious gathering instead of the Stop the Steal, which obviously the Stop the Steal is going to have religious people at it, but it wasn't overtly religious. There weren't, a bunch of prayers. This was much more that. So they would pray, and then they'd like walk around the State House, and then they'd walk around it again. Like they were walking around the city of Jericho, basically, was the idea. And so, my whole point of going to these things, just like I went to Black Lives Matter over the summertime, is to do secessionist outreach to them. Because as long as there's somebody who's upset with the federal government, I want to talk to them.
Right.
I want them to get a flyer about New Hampshire independence. And so that was my goal there. But ultimately, it was pretty interesting at one point because what happened was they had like a really crappy megaphone with them, and they were trying to speak to the crowd on the megaphone.
So just a phone then?
Well, it was
really crappy.
just barely above a phone, but it was pretty bad.
No mega.
And we actually had brought our speaker with us. Now, we didn't bring the best speaker with us, but it was better than what they had. And so the thought was, all right, well, let's give them a speaker, and then maybe they might have opened up the megaphone anyway later to speakers, but then this makes it easier for them to just kind of open it up, and that would give us a chance to come in and talk about secession in this particular group. So I got up there and gave a speech off the cuff, and I thought it was pretty decent. And then I introduced Nobody, and then he got up and he went off, and he can get pretty passionate. People that were listening to last night's show definitely know what I'm talking about. He can get very, very passionate and gets caught up in what he was saying, and he forgot who his audience was, and he said GD, which I'm not going to say the words on the air, but he said that, and immediately lost the interest of the people that were watching him. And it was palpable. Now, he didn't notice when it was happening, but I noticed. I'm like, oh boy. And then I haven't watched the playback yet to see how long it was, but there was a point at which that he said GD, and then there was a point at which that somebody else in the crowd goes, all right, let's go around the State House again. And they literally walked away in the middle of the speech.
Are people still...
Not all of them. Some stayed, but...
Are people still so sensitive about, like, I noticed in one of the chats that were in, one of the freedom-ish chats, that's not so much the libertarian folk, it's more conservative folk in that chat, that somebody was very, very upset about the language that was used at one of the protests.
Out in front of the governor's house?
Yeah. And I was like, really?
They also didn't like that somebody, I think they meant our co-host Nobody, was using a vape pen.
Right. And so, are people still such oversensitive,
snowflakes?
Snowflakes and self-righteous bastards that GD is going to like...
It's religiously offensive to them.
Right, absolutely. So, people section off into smaller groups, and the ways that they identify themselves is through dress, speech, and a variety of things. This is, they do not feel that Nobody holds their values and their concerns
so they don't
in a very
listen.
high light. And you know what the answer is? He doesn't. So why in the world would they listen to him?
They were until he said GD.
I would think that folks would be adult enough to base their decision on the content, not the fact that he said GD.
That would be nice, but no.
Right. So
you know, I have the same thing about stand-up comedians, right? So like stand-up comedians, there are those who are all about, hey, I'm going to use every dirty word that I possibly can in my act. And then there's others who are like, oh, I'm a clean comic, or they have other words for this, but they're they're basically a clean comic.
Family friendly.
And like to a point where like it's a divisive thing. Like they won't book shows with each other, even though they might be a good fit, right? They might be from the same area, or there's several things that could make them a good fit to book them on the same bill together.
Yeah, those people still exist, Captain. I mean, the religious right, the left has their snowflakes too, right? Like,
they do.
And the right loves to call the left snowflakes, and they're not wrong when they do. But the right has their own snowflakery, and you've identified one of these things. I mean, this is essentially as offensive to a Christian, as I understand it. It's as offensive to them to say GD as it is to draw a picture of Muhammad.
I've heard
for the
hundreds
Muslims
of church-going every Sunday Christians say far worse than GD.
No doubt.
Repeatedly.
No doubt.
And like
to
even
them, it's
just
not worse.
as soon as church was over. So for them to have that reaction at like a protest,
it's hypocritical.
Well, you're presuming that you're talking about Christians as though they're one group, and they're not. No. They have a whole variety of different thoughts. Yeah. And you know what? I think this is exactly the right behavior. You
separate yourself from people you don't get along with.
Well, yeah, I mean, but more importantly,
there was nothing wrong. I'm not criticizing them.
Shortcuts for figuring out whether or not you should be involved with somebody or not. And they took one of the shortcuts, and that's just how people are, and it's fine.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, Mark.
Hold on. Regarding no, I'm talking to the captain.
Oh, okay.
Regarding the captain's thought as far as comics, if I was a clean comic and you were a dirty comic, why would I believe for a second that my audience would pay to see you?
Well, it could be the other way around too. It depends on, who's the headliner, right? Who's the up and coming comic who needs the leg up, right?
Why would I believe that your audience would be interested in me? I mean,
because you're funny,
or maybe they just want to, throw cocktails at me because
it's a little different. It's a little different from music, where like you're not going to have a smooth jazz band playing with a death metal band. Right?
It is more likely that if the captain's audience is the dirty audience, it's more likely that they would appreciate a clean comic than the clean comic audience would appreciate a dirty comic audience.
Agreed.
So
that
the
I
dirty
agree
comic people are more open-minded in that way.
Well, I think that they just some of them are going to want to hear what's funny. Right, and it doesn't matter.
But funny
whether it's
can be either way,
or dirty.
Right.
Others of them are going to think that we found ourselves a prude, and they're going to be jerks about it.
I just feel like the whole discounting something that somebody speaking at a protest says because of
they missed out.
An impassioned thing is
They missed out. I mean, they're definitely missing out on certain aspects of life, and that's their choice. 855 450 free, like freedom. I mean, they also don't want to have sex before marriage. It's crazy. We're coming up.
It's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org. Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com. Have having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio tonight, you do have Ian,
the captain,
and Mark.
Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. Ready to learn about cryptocurrency? Bitcoin is bouncing back up a little bit. It's at around $18,760 right now. So it's been an interesting year for Bitcoin. The price up over 100% in just the last 11 months or so.
Making it arguably the best performing investment of the decade.
Yeah, there's not even an argument.
Yeah, there's really not an argument.
I mean, what's the? I don't even know what's the second best, but it ain't even anywhere near Bitcoin. It's probably another crypto. You know, I don't know what the second best is, but Bitcoin just blows everything else out of the water. So you should go and learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash by going to bitcoin.com and clicking on Get Started at the top of the page. They'll give you the basics about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And, you know, I mean, there's no better time than now to start down that road and at least learn the basics. You can dig in as deep as you want to. It is a very deep topic, but you don't need to. You can just watch a 2 or 3 minute video over at bitcoin.com. And check out their news site at news.bitcoin.com for the latest headlines in regards to the world of cryptocurrency. So just a couple more things that happened today at the various rallies going on. So one of them was like this Jericho March thing that I didn't even know we were going to run into today. And that really took away from the, quote, Stop the Steal that happened later. So what would likely be the final Stop the Steal, because the election results are supposed to come out Monday. The fact that this other earlier march was involving some of the same people and a lot of them left The Stop the Steal was the lightest one that I'd seen. I've only been to a couple of them, but it was way lighter than the one that I'd gone to, and it was more scattered. Like there was no one leading this one. There was like one guy shouting at the cars through a megaphone, and
I love that.
trying to start things with people that were going by, which wasn't very particularly helpful. And so nobody got on our co-host. Nobody got on our speaker and kind of spoke, but people were too scattered, so they didn't even really like turn and watch him at that particular. So it wasn't a very good one for nobody's speeches, but as far as like actually connecting with people, I spoke with more people one-on-one than I'd had at any previous one, because I've been to a couple of these things with some of the right-wing folks, and I've been around now, so it's okay to talk to me, right? So I had some good conversations, and there was one interesting conversation where it was right before the so-called Stop the Steal rally, where a lady was coming through, and I'll hand a flyer to anybody. Like I said, I don't care who you are. So there's people that are just walking through.
Hustle that freedom, bro.
Right. There's just people walking through downtown Concord. So there's the people that are there for the rally, and then there's the people that are just walking on Main Street. And so I'm seeing a woman coming up. She's wearing a mask. I'm figuring she's just sort of one of the normal folks that's on Main Street. And I go to, I hand her one of my Secession flyers, and she then made it clear that she was actually here for the rally. And I says, well, can you take the mask down? It's hard to hear you. And she said she couldn't. She said further that she doesn't want to wear the mask, but the reason she's wearing it is because her daughter told her that she would not get to see her grandchild unless she wore the mask at all times in her life. So that is how petty.
Family members strong-arming each other.
That is how petty. This daughter.
I was told the mask was for the other people. So what difference does it make if I wear it regarding seeing the daughter?
I wasn't there to interview the daughter, but I said to her, "Is your daughter?" No, it was her daughter. So the daughter was demanding that she wear the mask in order to see the woman's granddaughter.
Right, that's right.
Right. So, just an example of how petty one of these mask people is they're actually using their own daughter as a pawn to manipulate their own mother to wear one of these masks that she doesn't want to wear. And it was sad. Nice lady, though, but sad stuff. And then finally, the cops showed up at this particular event. I've been to events all year long. Some of the more right-wing events that I've been to, the cops haven't shown hide nor hair at any of them. But today they showed up, and I saw two cops walking up, totally masked up, slowly kind of walking into to the area.
Uniformed?
Yeah, uniformed cops.
Yeah, I feel the worst for people who have to wear masks for work, and basically they're breathing in their own filth.
Oh, it's awful.
For 8 or 10 hours a day. I mean, it's one thing to go to the grocery store and have to slide this thing on in order to, not get bothered by a bag boy or something. It's another thing entirely when you're talking about people who need to make a living.
Yeah.
And in whatever their job is, and they've got to wear this thing. I go into the banks, I go into retail places, and people are wearing these.
Yeah. How about I didn't bring it in for show prep, but I did see an article that some of the Chinese airlines are requiring their stewardess isn't the right word. Their flight attendants to not only wear the face masks but also to wear actual diapers, so that they don't use the bathroom on the airplane during flight to stop the spread of COVID amongst the flight attendants.
I'll tell the cop story here in just a moment, but let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. Carla's up first in Boston, Massachusetts. You're on Free Talk Live, Carla.
Hello. I'm just hoping to bring up something about kind of like what an open-minded person would feel about the coronavirus.
Okay.
Well, when it comes to like natural healing and therapy and things like that, when it comes to that side of the world, how are they supposed to move on when these acclamations are being made about this pandemic, and when they already know how to sort of handle these types of situations because they're more of the mind over matter, if you will, and when things kind of keep going on, how are they supposed to just go throughout their lives with this around them?
Or what you're saying is that allopathic medicine, standard traditional medicine, is being forced on us, and that you would prefer to, have you have your own beliefs around medicine, and you would like to abide by your particular rules, and you don't really have any options. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's this is one of the problems of government health care generally. The idea of single payer and these sorts of things is
one size fits all.
Yeah. One size is going to fit all.
Takes away the choice.
And there really won't be choices, when that happens. So,
well, there's always the choice. I mean, you can refuse to obey, and you can have whatever consequences come from that.
In Boston, it's going to be much harder to disobey than it is going to be in, say, Keene, New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah,
or
no
Tampa,
doubt about
Florida.
that, which is why there's another choice. And the choice is, if you love the ideas of liberty, you ought to move to New Hampshire. Now, if you don't care about freedom, well, just stay right where you are. Hey, Carla, thanks for the call. I appreciate hearing from you. Let's go to Ted. He's in Kansas, listening to KINA in Salina. Go ahead, Ted.
Yes, this past election in November, the state of Oregon, in 3 counties, the people had a majority vote where they wanted to secede from the state of Oregon and go to the state of Idaho.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to the State House of Oregon, there. I don't know what the procedure is, if they can leave or what.
So they actually passed these ballot provisions, and they supported secession?
They had like a referendum in these 3 counties where they wanted to secede from the state and go to Idaho. And now the report said that it has to go to the State House of Oregon.
Fascinating. Stand by, Ted. We'll look into this here, see what we can learn about it, because if that's true that they actually voted for secession, that's great news. Although they're not seceding from the United States, but we'll talk about it coming up.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Zippy and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them, to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com.
I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynavite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynavite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynavite, I took the advice from Dynavite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. You dial in, toll-free number here, 855-450, free like freedom. Talking about secession. In this case, we actually have a gentleman on the line who turned us on to a couple of counties in Oregon that apparently voted this year to, not to secede right away, but to start talking about.
So it seems.
The idea, start an official conversation with county government guys about, leaving the state of Oregon, but then joining the state of Idaho. So they're not really talking about pure secession as far as decentralization of secession. They're just talking about the moving kind of secession, so seceding from one state government and joining the other one.
Which, I mean, in my mind, once something like this starts to happen, if it can happen successfully, then it'll get people thinking about it and oh, well, what else can we do? And then hopefully that starts a trend, and that trend becomes a fad, and then it goes viral, and then everybody starts seceding from everybody else.
I call this a net positive. This is the easiest.
It's a good news.
This is the easiest way for them to get what they want regarding their state government. If you're out there in rural Oregon or rural Washington on the east side of the state, I mean, you're just run over by the folks on the left coast that are doing whatever they want to do.
Yep.
And this is a way to get what you want. More so.
Yeah, and as I said during the break, too, when we were discussing this, it reminds me of the Washington proposed split, right? Where they're going to split, like you're saying, the eastern third of Washington off from the western.
Because the urban areas don't have anything in common with the,
and of
the
course,
rural.
the city folk, outvote the country folk.
Right, every
so
time.
they have to drag them along with them instead of, doing what's right for the geographic area you're in, so...
Yeah, so we're going to continue here. Also, if you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty, you can do it from the back of your car with libertystickers.com. You can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and people love to read them. So check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic liberty-oriented messages at libertystickers.com. We go back to Ted in Kansas. Ted, you brought this to our attention. I appreciate that. Apparently, multiple counties did vote on this particular provision, which would, I guess, have, it says here in the Fox News story that it requires local officials to meet on the subject of changing the border. So this was on the ballot in 4 counties, but only 2 of them actually passed it. The other 2 counties did vote it down by small margins, but they did vote it down. So the 2 counties that did pass it are not... They're not, on the borderline with Idaho, so they're landlocked within the state of Oregon. So it will be a tough call to say that a county that appears in the middle of the state of Oregon is now going to be part of Idaho.
They call that an enclave.
It's essentially an island.
Or an exclave.
It's basically an island with... Go ahead.
Landlocked.
Yeah, it's landlocked within the other state, which would be... Yeah. Are there any states that have that? I don't know if there are. I think they're all pretty
Michigan
contiguous.
is the closest. So the UP is
the Upper Peninsula.
off of Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's true.
As opposed to directly attached to.
Yeah, it's got water on 2 sides and Wisconsin on the 3rd.
Yeah, that would be the closest, but it's still sort of next to the rest of Michigan.
There's if you look at the Delmarva Peninsula, it's interesting. So it's got Virginia.
Now we're talking about Delmarva's over by
Delaware,
Delaware, right?
Maryland, and Virginia.
That's what that stands for.
Are all
okay.
on this one peninsula that sticks out there. Virginia, as a matter of fact, is unattached to the state. Now, there's only water in between, but in order to drive there, I believe you have to go through other states to get there. So that might qualify it as your exclave there.
Okay. Well, there you go. Ted, what do you think about this idea?
The secession, I think it's a great idea. Idaho is a state that I like. It has permitless carry, concealed carry. You don't have to have a permit. You can carry concealed.
Right.
There's 16 states. It's Idaho is one of the states I like, and I think people are just getting sick and tired of what's going on with our government. I want to live in a state where we have a balanced budget. What we take in.
I believe California has that. It's constitutional in California for them to have a balanced budget, which means what do? They just pencil whip it. We have a lawyer industrial complex in nearly every state in the union, New Hampshire accepted, and they lie with words. That's the job description.
Ted, thanks for the call tonight. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Definitely appreciate hearing from you.
How do you lie without words?
Let's continue here. We've
Sign
got
language?
Jeff. He's in Asheville, North Carolina. Jeff, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's on your mind tonight?
So I've been listening to you guys for a while, and I hear you talking about the state being quote-unquote bad. And I understand the difference between government and state. And I do agree that government could be peeled back a little bit. But when you talk about the states, what is your alternative?
Sure. Can we determine how much a little bit is? How big? How too big is the state? So, are you talking about cutting the?
Are we talking about the federal state, or are we talking about the local state?
The budgets of every state that you deal with. Would you like them cut by 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%? What would you like to see?
I don't know if it's so much a number as more of like bureaucracy, right?
Well, that's who pays the bureaucrats.
If you're cutting bureaucracy, then you should be cutting costs as well.
Right, but if there is no states, who is dealing with forest fires? Who's dealing with?
He didn't want to answer your question, Mark.
Yeah, that's fine. So forest fires.
People.
Yeah, the same people that deal with forest fires now. You understand that 70% of the people who emergency responders in the United States are volunteers. Are you aware of that?
Okay.
So, problem solved. Next.
I just don't understand. If you get rid of government, who's gonna?
You're not getting rid of government. Remember that this is voluntary.
Okay.
Well, most people consider the state to be government.
Sure, I understand, and I'm trying to make a distinction here. The state is an organization that claims a monopoly privilege over the use of violence in a given landmass, which means if you don't play our game, we'll come to your house and we'll shoot you center of mass. And ultimately, that's it, right? Like, whatever the government says, whether it's a regulation, they killed that one guy for selling Lucy cigarettes illegally. Choked him to death. So ultimately, if you don't pull over for the cop who wants to give you a ticket for your tail light being out, they will kill you. Ultimately, they'll put out strips to blow up your tires. I mean, like, they are an organization that claims a monopoly privilege over the use of violence in a given landmass. So the question is, can we do without that?
Has there been a civilization in human history that didn't have that?
Well, I find that, so this is the argument from ignorance. This is a logical fallacy argument from ignorance. Since we've never done it, is it possible to never do it again? And the question I would ask you is, if somebody asked me in 1860, well, how are we going to pick the cotton? That doesn't justify owning people in order to do that.
Right, because the answer to that was crushed up dinosaur juice.
Right. Well, there was the
big old machines.
They still would have gotten cotton if they would have just paid people to pick cotton.
Right.
They didn't need
they did eventually.
You're right. The next a decade later, that's how they did it.
Right. And the answer here for the layperson is this: if government is providing a product or a service, and that product or service has any value, then in the absence of government, people will continue to provide that product or service
because there's money to be made.
Because there's money to be made in it, and people can start a business, and you will get a greater variety of choice. Yeah, roads,
sewage,
all that stuff,
or whatever,
all that stuff.
Jeff?
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's really the end of it, is if a product or service is worth providing, that product or service will be provided, and it'll be provided at a profit.
And probably better than it currently is because of the competition.
One more thing about fire departments. Fire departments are actually socializing the costs of insurance companies to the individual. Fire departments used to get bounties for putting out fires from insurance companies, but it was just a lot. Now insurance premiums are significantly lower if you have a government fire department nearby. Surprise!
There's more coming up here. Thank you, Jeff, for your call tonight. I definitely appreciate it, and we'll continue. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
The stress levels of Americans may be at an all-time high. From education to business to basic needs to politics, the 2020 pandemic-related stressors are pushing many of us to near breaking point. That's why you should consider the stress and pain-relieving products from sunny-bay.com, like our lavender neck wraps and pads infused with premium Washington lavender buds. They relieve tension and relax with a soothing scent of lavender. And lifestyle expert Jennifer Bonner recommends products from Sunny Bay.
Sunny Bay's hands-free neck wrap should be your go-to pain relief solution.
Give gifts to family and friends that relieve stress and pain. Give love and care by giving the best. Give pillows, neck wraps, and body wraps from sunny-bay.com, a Biomed DB design company. Just click sunny-bay.com. That's sunny-bay.com.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything. It is the live Saturday edition of the program. Want to say thanks to Joe Shull, who is a Free Talk Live amplifier. Joe is helping us get Free Talk Live on more radio stations by joining the AMP program, as you can do for $5 a month over at amp.freetalklive.com, ampamp.freetalklive.com, and that is where you can go to help us. It makes a big difference when you do that. You'll get some cool perks and some benefits as well, including access to the supporters-only chat room on our new chat server, and there's other perks and benefits too. Go to amp.freetalklive.com to learn more about that. And once again, thanks to Joe Shull for backing us up there at amp.freetalklive.com. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. We've been talking about secession as a Texas Republican GOP chairman is now talking about leaving the United States.
Is it the state GOP or just some crappy county?
Texas GOP chairman Alan West, and he's black.
Wait, I wonder if somebody said...
Alan West is, yeah.
I wonder if somebody asked him recently, well, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave?
He's like, yeah, good idea.
Oh, yeah, okay, let's try that.
The South will rise again.
But they don't mean that when they say it. When people say, if you don't like it, why don't you leave? They don't mean...
They mean you leave,
no,
physically.
They just don't want to have the conversation.
Right, yeah.
But, ultimately, either I own my land or not. Either I'm the sovereign, I'm the king of my land, or I'm not. And I should be able to determine being a member of the United States federal government or the state of whatever should be such a great deal that I don't want to leave. But it's not, because
the crap deal.
Right, the state is an organization that has come to us over 9,000 years of evolution.
And it needs to die.
And that organizational model is from kings telling vassals, telling serfs how they're going to live.
It's old technology, and it needs to be out. I want to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. That we got Tom in Texas. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I had a couple things, but as far as secession goes, I was wondering if you heard about the attorney that signed on to that state of Texas lawsuit versus the other states.
No.
Supposedly representing New California and New Nevada State.
Oh, interesting.
The attorney was Robert E. Thomas.
Is this the California secession movement that you're talking about?
I don't know. It was just they filed onto the brief.
Because there's one out there called Now California. I don't know if it's different than New California, or if there's just been a mistranslation or something like that, a misprint. But there's Now California that is currently trying to get 600,000 signatures on a petition to get a ballot measure up to have people vote on California leaving the United States. They're currently working on that as we speak.
Awesome.
So I don't know what lawsuit you're referring to, though. Which Texas is suing who?
Oh, the Texas State Attorney General was suing, about the whole election thing.
Oh, that. Yeah. Didn't that get thrown out or something?
Yeah.
It did. Yes.
Yeah.
They passed on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it had interesting merit to it. I was curious as to what was going to happen, but I guess it,
What do you think?
They weren't as curious as I was.
Tom, what do you think about secession? I mean, are people talking about it down there? Is it buzzy?
Well, I'm in Northwest Texas, up in Amarillo. It's a whole nother state almost, but I would be for secession. A lot of people aren't really talking about it where I'm at. I think most people are just trying to get along with their lives, do the
Yeah, it's time to stop doing that crap and start focusing on getting out of the United States, because they are going to destroy our lives if they can get away with it. So here's what I would suggest to people. If you're in an area of Texas or anywhere for that matter, and people aren't talking about secession, get on the local talk shows. Call the morning show, call the afternoon drive show. If you got anything local there, if you've got a newspaper that's still alive, most of them are dying, but if they've got a letters to the editor section,
LTA.
You can do this all on your own. And thank you, Tom, for the call tonight. I appreciate your thoughts. But get the word out there. Get your opinion out there. Say why you think this is a good idea, and at least get a conversation started. Let's talk to Steve. He's in Grantham, New Hampshire. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live, listening to WNTK FM.
Yeah, hi.
I have a number of things. Actually, one thing I could agree with you on.
Excellent.
Which is the police probably do have too much power.
Oh,
and
yeah.
with unions and everything else, they're almost sacrosanct. And it is absolutely a vital job that they provide. But as you mentioned, the taillight on the car, which was what happened in Texas, I believe it was, and the fellow who was selling cigarettes who had asthma in Staten Island, and the police get off. So we can agree on that, even though we need fire. We need police. As for you, somebody asked about forest fires, and while you are correct that 70% of the firemen are volunteers, that is not the case in forest fires. Those are paid individuals.
A lot of times they're inmates.
It's U.S. property.
Conscribed by
the Bureau of Prisons.
Yeah, Bureau of Prisons in California.
Well, that's California. But
sure.
I'm looking.
So hold on. Let me address it a little bit. I am a fireman, and I have been offered the opportunity many times to go out and fight those fires. And although I would not be, I didn't take them up on the offer at any point. And they were certainly offering pay to do it. All I'm saying is that any job worth doing can be done by the marketplace. And many of these fires, in fact, are a problem of the public property, the tragedy of the commons.
All right, but you will agree that your statement, which implied that the people fighting firefighters aren't getting paid because 70% of the firefighters are volunteers, as it relates to actually fighting firefighters, those people are getting paid.
Those people are largely getting paid, or they're convicts who are still getting paid, but they're getting paid very, very low wages.
Well, yeah, of course.
And Kamala Harris is keeping them in prison because it's convenient for
them.
But
I think what you're saying, Mark, is we don't need to have a centralized government monopoly in order to have paid firefighters. You could have paid firefighters in the marketplace. Isn't that what you're saying?
We do.
Okay. I'd like to go into two other quick areas.
Okay.
And I'll apologize because I didn't hear the beginning of this show, but you were actually making fun of the daughter of a mother who is requiring her mother to wear a mask. Now, I'm assuming you don't believe in the idea that people should be mandatory mask wearers.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be forced to wear a certain type of clothing.
Not by the state.
I know you live in New Hampshire, as I do, and we don't have to do seatbelts. But 49 states, do you believe people should be protected by? Do you like the fact there's a law that requires seatbelts?
No, absolutely not. I don't think people should be threatened with violence if they want to decide to make a choice for themselves, for their own bodies, and for their own lives.
In their car,
their passenger can make their own decision.
Right. Well, I think your attitude on that is ridiculous.
Why?
And
why is it ridiculous that people should be able to be free to make choices?
It's a cost savings to the country if people don't get killed in automobile accidents or severely injured, and it's such an easy
cost savings to the country.
Do you mean the government?
Not a loss of freedom.
Do you mean the government's intrusion into healthcare?
That is such
cost
government intrusion as to be a ridiculous.
Steve, where are you from originally?
I grew up in Brooklyn.
That figures.
Well, I mean, nobody from Brooklyn might actually have their head on screwed right.
No,
right?
I think that what he's trying to say is that people from outside of the state
you don't get it, dude.
tend to come in and vote. And
you don't understand freedom. You don't really belong here, honestly.
All right. I went to. I know you're in the Keene area, so
that's right.
Everybody else in New Hampshire doesn't belong because you have your own special enclave.
People like you who don't understand freedom. People like you,
Ian.
No, people like you who don't understand freedom. No, you don't. You just told me you think people need to be forced to put a seatbelt on. Because you don't think people can make their own choices because of some sort of socialized cost to the so-called country, which is exactly what you were saying there, Mark. You're correct. And what he's saying is, because government pays for some people's health care bills, we want to force everybody to wear seatbelts because somebody might crack their head open and have to go to the hospital who wasn't wearing a seatbelt. But the reality is, Steve,
let me talk to Steve, please.
Well, I have something to say here. So the reality is, Steve, when you actually look at Massachusetts, for instance, which is a state that does require seatbelts, and you compare it to, I'm going to finish the statement here if you don't mind, and you compare it to New Hampshire, and you look at the number of people that actually do wear seatbelts in those states, they're statistically the same.
Well,
so
compliance rates
people,
are actually higher in New Hampshire than they are in Massachusetts.
It's close.
It's very close.
Either way, within the statistical margin of error, they're about the same.
Okay.
So the fact is, whether it's forced on people or not doesn't matter, Steve.
Okay. Can I talk about masks for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The idea of freedom is not that Well, first of all, I don't know what you agree or disagree with. Do you believe that masks do help reduce the incidence of spreading coronavirus aerosols to other people?
I think under certain circumstances, but when you look at states that have mask mandates versus states that don't, that have less mask compliance, that you'll find that masks really don't appear to do anything in that
actually, I would disagree with your analysis.
Then you can go ahead and check with Tom Woods. He's done a lot of research on this, and I don't know how to address
what
that.
They definitely
if
do.
If we can't agree on that, then we can't agree on anything.
I don't really care, honestly, because what they definitely do is they dehumanize the population. They take away your ability to see somebody's facial expressions, your ability to express yourself by smiling at another human being. Look, man, if you're afraid about catching something, just stay home. Or better yet, go back to Brooklyn. More coming up here in moments. 8:55, 450, free like freedom. You can take control of the airwaves. Hour number 3 is coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Stamps.com brings the post office and UPS shipping right to your computer. Go to Stamps.com to start a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with promo code FOX. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the page and type in FOX.
Begins arriving Monday morning. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. That's when federal officials say distribution begins of Pfizer's new COVID-19 vaccine.
The CDC advisory panel voting to recommend that Americans age 16 and over use the Pfizer vaccine, that it's safe for use. A number of medical experts have said not only is this Pfizer vaccine a complete breakthrough, but it is also safe. 95% effective. The Pfizer vaccine was developed in just 11 months, and the second vaccine already on the very near horizon. Moderna, also a highly effective vaccine, scheduled to be approved next week.
Fox's Steve Harrigan. The Trump administration says it's purchased 100 million doses of Moderna's vaccine. That's on top of a previous order of 100 million. President Trump was in West Point today to attend the Army-Navy football game.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the field the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
President conducted the coin toss. Army shut down Navy 15-0. It was the first meeting between the teams at West Point since 1943. Prior to attending the game, President Trump spoke to Fox's Brian Kilmeade about Friday's Supreme Court decision to reject a challenge by the state of Texas to throw out voting results in 4 states.
No judge has had the courage, including the Supreme Court. I am so disappointed in them. No judge, including the Supreme Court of the United States, has had the courage to allow it to be heard. The Supreme Court, all they did is say we don't have standing. So they're saying essentially that the President of the United States and Texas and these other states, great states, they don't have standing.
A federal judge in Wisconsin today rejected a lawsuit filed by the Trump campaign seeking to overturn Democrat Joe Biden's win there. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 has already reshaped how we work, and it's almost over. Businesses across the globe are challenged to be their most efficient, which means every hire is critical. Indeed is here to help. Indeed helps you find quality candidates quickly, so you can focus on hiring the person you need to keep your business going. Unlike other sites, Indeed gives you full control and payment flexibility over your hiring. You only pay for what you need, can pause your account at any time, and there are no long-term contracts. And now, Indeed's new way of matching you with candidates instantly delivers a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria that you can contact the moment you sponsor a job, making Indeed the only job site that can move as fast as you do. Right now, Indeed is offering a free $75 credit to boost your job post, which means more quality candidates will see it fast. Get started on Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
Country music pioneer Charlie Pride has passed away. Fox's Tanya J. Powers reports.
Charlie Pride, country music's first black superstar, has died.
You've got to kiss an angel good morning.
He passed away today in Dallas due to complications from COVID-19. Pride was born in 1934, the son of a sharecropper in Sledge, Mississippi, and between 1967 and 1987, he had 52 top 10 country hits, won Grammy Awards, and became RCA Records' top-selling country artist. He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2000, and last month, Pride was given the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Country Music Association. Charlie Pride was 86. Tanya J.
It's The Onion Radio News. God loses his decision-making coin. This is Doyle Redland reporting. The Lord God has confirmed that he has misplaced his special decision-making coin. The coin, a relatively unremarkable 1972 nickel, has been used almost daily by the Supreme Being for over 4 billion years for the purpose of determining everything from the direction of the wind to the outcome of history. The visibly distraught God added,
I have no idea where I put it. I remember flipping it last night for a couple in Monroe, Michigan who were trying to conceive a child, but I haven't seen it since.
God also said he hopes to locate the coin before 7:15 Thursday morning when United Flight 251 takes off from Seattle with actress Dixie Carter on board. Doyle Redland for The Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is The Onion News Network.
According to locals waiting for a 66 bus in downtown Chicago last night, a young couple was making out in the passenger shelter like they were in Paris or something. Onlookers spoke to reporters about the pair, who carried on their passionate embrace for over 20 minutes, as if they were in some sort of goddamn candlelit bistro tucked away in Montmartre.
It's been almost a half an hour and they're still going at it. It's like they think they're sitting on a sun-dappled picnic blanket in the Tuileries Gardens. I mean, where the hell are we? The Champs-Elysees?
The pair's marathon makeout session, which took place in downtown Chicago and not, as frustrated onlookers emphasized, on a cobblestone street in the city of lights, featured intense gazing, deep tongue kissing, and other gestures of affection typically reserved for a couple strolling down the banks of the Seine River.
You know, for a second there, I honestly thought we had all been transported to Parc Monceau, drinking flutes of champagne on a wonderful summer afternoon while being serenaded by a Parisian accordion player. But no, we're at a bus stop in Chicago.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. We've been talking on and off about secession, but some people have brought up some questions about just the whole idea of having no government whatsoever, which wasn't what I was advocating for when I was talking about secession. Although I'm fine with the idea of ending the idea of the state. I think that would be wonderful. Just like we ended the idea of chattel slavery, we should end the idea of sorry about that, Captain. Try that again.
It's antique. It's barbaric. You talked, Mark, earlier about how old the idea of the state
thousands of years
old.
It
is thousands of years old. It is far beyond time for us to rid ourselves of the violence. An organization with a monopoly on the initiation of violence.
Right.
This is what we're talking about. You wouldn't treat people the way a state treats people in any other context, in any other circumstance.
Not if you're a good human being, at least.
Right.
Psychopaths, however, would.
Right. States are tools intended to control behavior. Now, we can control the sort of baseline behaviors. What do we call them? Malum. There's malum prohibitum and malum.
I don't know.
I can't remember the types
Malcolm
of laws.
in the middle? I don't know.
Anyway, laws that, pardon me if I don't remember my Latin, laws that regard people of crimes with a victim, right? So people having we could handle, security and these sorts of things, people being safe in their houses and people being safe from violence and these sorts of things. These are small problems. We can get asphalt on the ground. We'll have roads, these kind of things. Government's really just about, an organization of liars and thieves rewarding their friends and punishing their enemies.
Indeed. We go to your thoughts. Your calls are welcome. Todd is in Michigan. Todd, where in Michigan are you tonight?
Escanaba.
Welcome. You're on Free Talk Live. You must be listening to WCHT. Go ahead, sir.
That might be it.
Yep.
I found your show kind of by accident while channel surfing, and I've been listening all night.
Welcome, sir.
I'm a member of the clergy, and
Me too.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of scared of an all-run Democrat state. I am a refugee from Iowa with me and my two girls, and we're up here now in Michigan, a blue state. And most of the people I know, being clergy, have been starting to talk about secession.
Really?
And I've been listening to a lot of talk about Texas seceding, and it is a former republic. It has an advantage. It's on an ocean.
Yep.
But what do you do about my states like Iowa, Michigan, where you can't really secede because
sure you can.
All they can do is close the St. Lawrence Seaway.
There's plenty of landlocked countries in the world. I mean, it's going to make things more difficult, no doubt about it. But there's plenty of landlocked countries in the world, so it's not like it's undoable. It certainly is doable. Although certainly, I would recommend moving to a place like Texas where you got better access to.
Right. Well, he's asking about the state in and of itself, and what is a reality is that landlocked states tend to have real problems regarding growth and that sort of thing. And the reason is because it is significantly less costly to move the stuff that make life great around in boats than it is to move it around in trains and trucks and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Now, that's already happening in Iowa, mind you. And the presumption is that if you can if several states secede, that there'd be sort of, call it a Republican enclave or something like that, that there'd be a confederation, that kind of thing, where presumably you'd be able to travel without having to show your papers in every stop and these kind of things. Maybe that's so. If that's so, then you're getting a lot closer to me supporting it. But basically the shipping would come in through Texas, I think is the short answer.
No, I mean, there's 50 states, and 48 of them are connected. If only 2 or 3 actually secede, aren't we just going to end up facing the U.S. military?
Well,
this is the main objection to secession.
Right.
Go ahead, Mark.
One would presume, I find this to be the least likely of the scenarios. I am not claiming to be
the biggest scary one, though,
for secession, but I will tell you that I do not believe that they will roll in troops. First, I'd like to advise anybody who might want to secede to go through, their sort of legal channels as was done before, and then don't fire on forts. Just leave them alone. Let them do whatever they're going to do and leave them alone. And at that point, no, I don't think that there's any.
But why not?
Well, because we have cameras now is the short answer. If Americans saw...
It doesn't stop the cops from killing people.
And, it is stopping the cops from killing people, and we'll now see that the police are wearing body cams and these sorts of things.
As they kill people.
I think that numbers are probably down. People.
I don't think so.
You're never going to not have a situation where some kind of security officer empties a clip in somebody who freaking deserves it. So, I mean, I'm not like, I got it. There's some innocent people that die due to law enforcement, but that happens everywhere.
No doubt.
And yeah.
Just saying cameras didn't stop it.
I got it, man. Yeah. But Americans are not willing to see Americans killing Americans in the streets.
I think you're right about that.
And also,
and maybe the troops
don't forget that there's
go
3 guns for every American here.
Yeah.
And
not in all the states.
You can try to take a piece of land where 66% of people have voted to not be interested. I mean, I think a guerrilla war would be really
They're
bad.
having a tough time in Afghanistan. They're going to have a real tough time in New Hampshire, where there are a ton of guns, and there are people who are willing to use them. California, it's a big state, but there's probably not as many guns in California.
California is probably the best candidate for secession.
Well, as far as economically, I mean, they've got a great...
They have very little dependency on the United States.
But they depend on the other states for water.
They do. But they still have treaties and they have contracts in place as far as water goes. They may continue to get it.
Todd, and they could just filter their own.
I got to say, I'm really glad to hear that what you told us, and that is that there's everyone in the clergy is talking about this. That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
That's great.
Well, most clergy were not allowed to get involved in politics because we're considered nonprofits.
Right.
My church isn't 501c3. I can say whatever I want.
Good for you. So you're a free church.
I would like to state that it's a very silent group because it's not allowed to talk.
They need to unincorporate. They need to undo the 501c3.
Yes, my church actually did that. 13 million members. We don't have a single nonprofit tax stamp out there.
13 million members. Which church are you?
I am the first bishop of the Humanitarian Assembly. I am my church's pope.
Wow. Humanitarian Assembly. Cool. Thanks. I'm glad to hear about that because I definitely know about free churches. We have one here. It's called the Shire Free Church, also not 501c3. This is one of the biggest mistakes churches make is they actually go and they ask the government for permission to exist.
Right.
And it's like, that's not how it's supposed to work. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate your call here tonight. And I'm really excited to hear that people are talking about secession, not just, it's not just Rush Limbaugh that mentioned it this week. It's something that people are discussing. It's on their minds, and it needs to get talked about.
One thing on one of the previous callers had asked, and this comes up a lot when you start talking about, governments or removing government, and it's, has there ever been a civilization? Well, actually, there's been several that have done the equivalent of existing without a, quote, state, unquote. We're talking about a monopoly.
Yeah, but how come it's not still around?
Well, because
the United States has only been around for 250 years.
Yeah. But
why isn't the Greek? Why isn't the Roman Republic still around? Why aren't Greek democracies still around?
There is a community, I believe, known as the Mennonites or the Amish.
Mennonites, yeah.
And they Mennonites, yes, thank you. And they, largely exist without. I mean, they play along with the states that are around us today, but their whole philosophy is stateless.
Yeah, I think that one of the things is that people look at modern society and say that the Quaker experiment in 1680, which was completely stateless. And say medieval Iceland and
Ireland too, with their Tuatha and all
that
was 900 years of statelessness.
And they think to themselves that there's just no way to do modern trash pickup and delivery of high speed internet and water and all the things.
None of that requires the state.
Yeah, we don't have state trash pickup here.
No, I think that I agree. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that people look and they're like,
I'm
wow,
just giving an example.
This is complicated, and the state has existed alongside of it. So therefore, it couldn't exist without the state.
Let me tell you, private trash pickup is not complicated. You just call around, get the best price, and then hire them, and they come pick up your trash.
Right.
Hey, we got more coming up here. Your calls, your thoughts are welcome. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can bring up whatever's on your mind, whether it be secession or anything else goes. Here, this is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE, like freedom.
Now, mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Dixie and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com.
I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynovite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynovite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynovite, I took the advice from Dynovite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
My name is Angel Rach. I'm a mother of 2 teenage children, and I fought all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to use the medicine that saved my life. I've been permanently disabled for 10 years, with an inoperable brain tumor, wasting syndrome, and several other serious conditions. For 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, in so much pain I couldn't even hug my kids. The hardest part was looking in their eyes and seeing how much they were suffering because of my medical condition. The medicine that gave me my life back and gave my kids their mom back was cannabis, also known as medical marijuana. With medical marijuana, I can walk, maintain my weight, and I can be a mom. Without it, my doctors believe that I would die. To learn more about medical marijuana, contact Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or on the web at mpp.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. It's the live Saturday edition. As always, open phones for you if you want to join us on the radio. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. You've heard us talking about Divi. It is a cryptocurrency that makes it super easy to run a masternode. Now, what is a masternode? It is a special node on the network that performs special services and gets compensated for those services. And in order to become a masternode with other cryptos, it's a bit of a hassle. Like, you got to know server administrator kind of stuff. But with Divi, you don't. You can just spin one up. It's relatively simple, just a few clicks, and you're done. Now, you do need to have Divi in order to be a masternode, so you have to acquire that. In order to acquire Divi, you can either get it from multiple exchanges or directly from the Divi team. So go to diviproject.org. You can learn more about Divi there and get in touch with their team directly through their Telegram channel, which is linked to over at Divi Project, D-I-V-I project.org.
Yeah, this evening we've managed to get pulled into do we need the state or not conversation, which is rare here on Free Talk Live, even though all of us are basically voluntarists of different flavors, and I certainly, if asked, do we need an organization that claims a monopoly privilege and the use of violence in order to do X? Then my answer is going to be no. We probably don't need that. Right. However, I get that it is a uncomfortable and easily dismissed conversation. Let's get rid of the government entirely. I got it. I mean, no problem. It's hard to get that. However, what I would like to do, if I may just talk about it for a second, because if people are going to bounce it at me, I'm going to bounce it back. What if we adopt the 50% of the libertarian platform out there that says that free people operating in a free market freely can solve problems better than those that don't? What if we adopt 50% of that platform? What if we say, I don't know, legalize drugs? Hey, look, here's your advice on how to use drugs. Use them how you wish. By the way, you mix heroin and cocaine and you're going to die, right? Just tell them. Mm-hmm. Heroin vending machines, have the junkies laid out in front, and then, believe me, some charity will come by, clean them all up in the morning. No problem. I don't care. Let's have, for one, let's do away with the federal income tax. What do we get for our taxes? In many cases,
war.
Well,
yep,
you get a lot of that.
Lots of dead bodies.
And I would ask anybody, what about pacifists? I'm a Quaker. I don't believe in paying for war. Should I have to pay the United States federal government, who's busy dropping $1 million bombs on $10 tents?
These are all great questions. I'd love to have you continue, but I want to get to some of these calls. Let's talk to Ryan in Myrtle Beach. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey, guys.
Hey there.
First-time listener.
Welcome.
Never heard your show before, and I tell you, I'm intrigued. I'm the son of a 21-year Air Force veteran active duty, and I myself got 12 years rather in the Army as an infantry medic, a flight paramedic, and I'm currently a highly skilled emergency nurse and trauma nurse.
Okay.
And so what caught my ear was the discussion about seatbelts. Now, I grew up a proud American and never thought that I would reach the point where I would even consider secession as an option. But as I've lost my dad and begun to inherit the businesses that he's built, and experience more and more what it's like to deal with, attorneys and the IRS and the taxes. As taxes become more and more invasive in our lives, even here in the state of South Carolina, it has become more and more frustrating that no matter how hard you work, it just seems harder and harder to get ahead.
Yeah, the longer I'm alive, the least. I mean, I can't name an area of my life, and many people I talk to also can't. But I can't name an area of my life that the government doesn't have their hands in.
That's right. And I mean, so facing the prospect of the government becoming even more intrusive in our lives and all of the corruption that obviously is surrounding the administration that's about to take power, it's just, there's so much that it's just become too much for me to not think about and listen to people who use the term secession. And I'm enthralled by y'all's pros and everything. And so I'll definitely be listening from now on. But I want you to clarify things. We could crush like 5 bottles of wine talking about this stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to clarify something. So my training involved critical thinking surrounding subjective evaluation of subjective and objective information that we synthesize to come to a diagnosis, and then we treat with evidence-based practices, right?
Got it.
And so when I hear, I hear secession, in my mind, I hear y'all talking, and I think, well, does secession equal lawlessness? And then I go to the seatbelt conversation. And I know, as a trauma nurse and as a paramedic, a flight paramedic, I know that seatbelts not only save the lives of the people that wear them if they're operating a motor vehicle, but they keep you positioned in your seat so that you can maintain the control of the vehicle that you're driving.
Yep.
In the event that that you kind of start to lose control. And what that does is it prevents you potentially all the time from ramming head on into another car who had absolutely nothing to do. And now you've got a bunch of victims that were doing the right thing. And so I'm trying to figure out in my brain, how do you keep drunk people from driving boats? How do you keep people?
How do they keep them from doing it now?
Well, I wear a seatbelt because it's smart, and because I know that if I get caught, I'm going to have to pay like a $25 fine.
Yeah. Is it a primary or secondary state there in South Carolina?
Say that again?
Is it a primary?
What does that mean, Mark?
Or secondary state? So when it comes to seatbelts,
I know what you mean. So in other words, can the police stop you if they see you not wearing a seatbelt, or do they have to have some other violation? Is that what you mean?
Right. Yep.
In South Carolina, if they see you without a seatbelt, they can stop you, and then of course that brings in the whole gamut of other things.
Yeah. So, right now, people are driving around. Compliance is not 100% in any place, whether they have a seatbelt law or not. And interestingly, in New Hampshire, isn't the lowest state in the union for compliance, although it is the only one where adults don't have to wear seatbelts. I wear a seatbelt every time I get in. That's why seatbelt freedom isn't particularly meaningful to me. But I think it's nice to keep the conversation going. New Hampshire says live free or die on the license plate. If you get into a car and a driver in New Hampshire will say, well, you don't have to have your seatbelt on. It'll happen all the time. And somebody from every other state will be like, what? Live free or die, baby. It's said over and over and over again. And I think it's a value for this particular reason. I agree with you. It helps you maintain control of the vehicle, which is a net public good. And I like it for that particular reason. I like the idea of wearing seatbelts generally, and I'm for that. I just don't think that it's necessary that the United States federal government has to dangle $3 million in front of, through the NTSB, $3 million in front of New Hampshire in order to get it to, hand out tickets to get a higher compliance rate, a rate that's already higher than, at the very least, Massachusetts, which is right next door. So,
Yeah, seatbelts are a good idea. Ryan, thanks for the call. Feel free to call anytime. We appreciate it. Seatbelts are a good idea. And if it's a good idea, people don't need to be threatened to do it. Right. So let's try using voluntary means. Persuasion, for instance, like telling them how dangerous it is to not wear a seatbelt. Otherwise,
allow the choice.
Let people make the choice. It's Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com, where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you can bring up whatever you want. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. I do want to say thanks to Curry Taylor, who is a Free Talk Live Silver amplifier. You can join Curry and become an amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. You get some cool perks and benefits, and you help us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live and get on more radio stations so more people can hear the ideas of freedom and liberty and secession and cryptocurrency and the other fun stuff like peace that we talk about here on Free Talk Live.
Voluntarism.
Yeah, you just don't hear about that stuff on other shows. Except for secession. This week, Rush Limbaugh talked about it. So, kudos to him for that, even though he sadly backed off of it the next day. But at the very least, it did get some conversation started, and so he still deserves credit for at least
I'm glad to see he's not carrying water for these people anymore.
At least broaching the subject. Well, he picked the water back up the next day, Mark, when he backed off of it. But anyway, it still got some people talking. We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I'm just going to read to you the quote here real fast from the Texas GOP chairman. So the previous news that it was a Texas state representative who's going to introduce a ballot measure for Texans to vote to secede from the United States. Now you've got the GOP chairperson, guy named Alan West, who he said, quote,
I think this guy's been a talk show host. He's certainly a pundit. He's a big name.
I mean, he's the GOP chairman of Texas. It doesn't get much bigger as far as state GOPs than Texas, right? So he said he was talking about this court trial or this court hearing with the Texas government and these other state attorney generals that were trying to, stop the steal or whatever they're doing with Trump's thing. He said, quote, the Supreme Court, in tossing the Texas lawsuit that was joined by 17 states and 106 U.S. congressmen, has decreed that a state can take unconstitutional actions and violate its own election law, resulting in damaging effects on other states that abide by the law while the guilty state suffers no consequences. This decision establishes a precedent that says states can violate the U.S. Constitution and not be held accountable. Well, they've been doing that for a long time. But he goes on saying further that the decision will have far-reaching ramifications for the future of our constitutional republic. Perhaps law-abiding states should band together and form a union of states that will abide by the Constitution. So that's, I don't think he uses the word itself.
Sure, sounds a lot like secession.
But it sounds like a fork.
It sounds like
as they call it in the crypto world, sounds like a hard fork. And I just don't understand why we go through this ritual every 4 years where we attempt to shove the most distasteful person that we possibly can down on the other side.
Well, apparently because some people don't want to be inconvenienced at the borders, like you, Mark. You've been talking against it all night. We go on here with more of your calls and thoughts, but luckily some people, like our last caller, are starting to see the light. He said, he realizes now how the federal government gang is infringing upon his freedoms, and he wants nothing to do with it. Let's go on with your calls and thoughts, though. We got Charlie. He's on the line in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live, listening to KINN.
Hey, guys. I haven't talked to you in a while. How you guys doing?
Good, Charlie. What's on your mind, dude?
Oh, well, I wanted to share a thing with you guys on seat belts concerning what you guys are talking about and anything that implicates a car and your freedom of infringement upon you traveling down the road. It says the right of mobility, the right to travel in privacy. Gerald Hausman identifies how the right to travel is essential for the exceeding exercise of fundamental rights, including employment. Mobility is a right which makes many other rights we hold dear both tenable and possible. The right of association, privacy, equality of opportunity. For example, he notes that the nation, all identification systems, including worker identification cards, constitute an internal passport, which he calls a hallmark of repressive regimes such as South Africa, the former Soviet Union, or Nazi Germany. In the concurrent exercise of two fundamental rights, the right, for example, travel, may not be conditioned or abrogating another right like privacy.
So you're talking about freedom to travel, which is an important concept. I don't know from what document you're reading there, but it definitely sounds like you're reading a prepared statement. But the idea of freedom to travel is a good idea. I support it. I've done some freedom to travel activism myself. I've driven around in a car with a private plate that I had manufactured to put on that, and so I fully support these sorts of things. And Charlie, thank you for calling tonight. I definitely appreciate it, and it does take a person who's willing to accept some level of risk to do this, because these men with guns out there, they don't take real kindly to freedom to travel activists, and they will possibly put you in a jail cell.
They really like those government license plates, and they want that little sticker to be exactly the right year. But I would say this regarding freedom of travel: if you're talking about private road operators, then you would have no freedom to travel on a private road, because the private road operator would determine who was allowed on and who isn't allowed off. I think that freedom to travel is a murky subject. I'm interested in it, but I don't think that it is. It's not a clear-cut situation.
My stance on it is this: won't matter with my jetpack.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go to more of your calls and thoughts. Terry in Ocean Shores, Washington, listening to KBKW. Go ahead, Terry.
Hey,
Terry.
I hope you guys are having a great Christmas season.
Thanks. Go ahead with your thoughts.
I've got a few that I'd like to touch on and just hit points, and then I'll take your answers and stuff off the air. The first thing is this issue with oh my gosh, where did I go?
You should have written them down, man.
Darn it. Well, you just got on the other guy's butt for writing something down, and now you're...
No, I think he was reading a prepared statement from somebody else. I don't think that was his writing.
No.
Oh, I don't know what happened to you there, Terry. If you're having some trouble there, maybe we'll put you on hold and see if we can come back to you. Let's talk to Dustin in Salina, Kansas, listening to KINA. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey guys. I was just calling. I told you in the past. I'm trying the Tea Party. It's different work efforts and it's advancing. I've come up with a few extra religions to even enhance the way that the systems help and what needs help, like a whistleblower.
You got a whistleblower religion?
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Like the Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy.
Yeah.
Espionage.
Love that.
I came up with just the balances, the fundamental balances.
Is this the crazy guy that makes no sense whatsoever?
I don't know. Fundamental balances, religion on...
Can you say a sentence that actually makes any sense?
Tea Party for the ways of the United States has ruined its relationship, every race, and all the females of every race, and
that's not a real sentence. I mean, there's not any kind of like structure that makes any kind of sense.
At first, I thought he was onto something.
I love it.
And I don't
think
mean
he's
drugs.
exactly right.
I wish we had more time for you, Justin. Or Dustin, you can call us on a weeknight, and we can really dig in.
That would be a lot better. He's absolutely right, Dustin. This is, it's difficult to fit you in when we have so many callers.
Yeah, I want to get some more people on here. Somebody that's like Dustin needs a special attention.
I choose support the females of all races.
Let's talk to Ferris. He's calling from Myrtle Beach, listening to WRNN. Go ahead, Ferris.
Appreciate you guys, especially on a Saturday night, if it is Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Last time I checked.
Yeah,
it's Saturday somewhere.
Yeah, well, we don't get much in the way of national voice of the people. The Romans called it vox populi, didn't they?
Yes.
Remember the Romans? Were there Romans? Were there Greeks? Was there Aristotle? Did Aristotle say masculine republics give way to feminine democracies, and feminine democracies give way to tyranny? But I called to talk about my brother from Myrtle Beach, who called up earlier. I forget his name. He talked about seatbelts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to underscore the fact that in the Granite State of New Hampshire, there was a seatbelt law which was repealed by real men. Okay, imagine the courage to have 50 states with seatbelt laws, and where did New Hampshire get the chutzpah to realize that seatbelts do not save lives?
New Hampshire is a special place.
I didn't know they'd repealed the seatbelt law here.
It really is. I mean, it needs more courage, though. I mean, it's not. It's only better by comparison to the rest of the states. There's still a lot of problems here in New Hampshire. And Ferris, thank you for calling in tonight. I appreciate it, man. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. We need more courage, and in order to get that, we need more courageous people who care about liberty to move here. Check out move.shiresociety.com. More coming up.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Stock market have you nervous with all the massive fluctuations? With the hope for a COVID vaccine on the rise, shifting political landscape, and the election at an end, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text MONEY to 411-411 to find out how our technology can forecast market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Text MONEY to 411-411 to get what you need to stay ahead of market trends and find explosive moves before they happen. Vantage Point's patented technology analyzes huge quantities of global data in seconds. Stop guessing. Start predicting trends 72 hours in advance. Text MONEY to 411-411 and experience Vantage Point for free. Text MONEY to 411-411 so you can protect and grow your capital now. Don't wait. Text MONEY to 411-411.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
The stress levels of Americans may be at an all-time high. From education to business to basic needs to politics, the 2020 pandemic-related stressors are pushing many of us to near breaking point. That's why you should consider the stress and pain-relieving products from sunny-bay.com, like our lavender neck wraps and pads infused with premium Washington lavender buds. They relieve tension and relax with a soothing scent of lavender. And lifestyle expert Jennifer Bonner recommends products from Sunny Bay.
Sunny Bay's hands-free neck wrap should be your go-to pain relief solution.
Give gifts to family and friends that relieve stress and pain. Give love and care by giving the best. Give pillows, neck wraps, and body wraps from sunny-bay.com, a Biomed DB design company. Just click sunny-bay.com. That's sunny-bay.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
855 450 free. That's 855 450 3733. Moments remain. Maybe enough time for you. If you're already on the line, we'll do our best to get you in here. But if you don't get on tonight, then you can return tomorrow.
This is the last segment already.
This has been a busy, busy show. Lots of calls, almost wall-to-wall phone calls all night long. You know what? People want to talk about secession. They want to talk about seatbelts. They want to talk about all kinds of infringements on their liberties, and they've hopefully had enough.
Best I can tell, there has never been a seatbelt law in New Hampshire.
Oh, you did some research on that?
Yeah, I looked too. There's actually an article that says the result of never having had a seatbelt law in New Hampshire.
So our last caller was impressed with the real men who repealed the law. Maybe he should be impressed with the ones that stopped it from ever coming in.
The real men that stood in the way of the law.
Yeah. So, and they keep trying, by the way. There's the the pussies that keep attempting to pass these laws and beg the federal government to own them. And it goes down and it goes down and it goes down. It does not pass. So it's nice to see that happen.
No guarantees, but the New Hampshire House Transportation Committee recently voted in favor of a bill that would require adult drivers and passengers to wear seatbelts, reports the New Hampshire Union Leader.
When was this?
February 2020.
Yeah, that was earlier this year.
COVID's kind of shut this down.
Well, probably what shot it down was the New Hampshire State House. You said a committee had voted in favor of it?
Yeah, but the New Hampshire State House is Democrat until things change.
Did it say that the bill passed the State House?
No.
Can you find an article that shows it passed the State House? Then it didn't pass.
Say that.
It probably didn't pass the State House.
I didn't claim it's passed the State House.
Okay, well, the fact that it passed a committee doesn't really mean much of anything. So it needs to pass the State House before it even has a chance at doing anything whatsoever, and then hopefully the governor will veto that bill if it makes it through the Senate.
Your ability to bury your head in the sand is just fascinating. I read a paragraph to you, and you're like, ah!
No, I'm not like that. You just did that.
Yes, you are.
No, you just did that.
You're like, I will not listen to your. I will not listen to your talk of the possibility that New Hampshire is on the road to tyranny.
No,
look,
I'm not listening.
New Hampshire is all the problems of the rest of the United States, only just a little bit less.
So it's the most free of all the states.
Recently, it was named that
depending on which
the freest place in North America, according to some list.
Yeah, I was just telling you, Mark, the fact that a committee passed a thing doesn't mean a whole lot.
I know what committees do.
So stop acting like that's like, oh my God, this is about to pass. It's not. It didn't.
I read something to you.
I know, and I'm letting people know how insignificant what you read was. We go on here. Next to Vanessa. She's in Myrtle Beach. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Vanessa.
Hi, fellas.
Hey.
I called to talk about secession.
Excellent.
Because secession is very important because the Civil War, too, is something that we are anxious to bring on now. Some things are worth dying for, of course, and one is your country. which should come above family. It's God, country, and family in that order. That's why the founding
I got to
fathers.
disagree with you on. I don't care about the country.
I know you do, but let me explain.
Yeah.
There were no founding mothers. Were there any founding mothers? No. And the reason there were no founding mothers, if you had any women in that room, there would never be that republic, that exquisite republic that was given to us by the founding fathers.
What do you
Because the
call a
majority
woman
of the
who hates other women? It's a misogynist is a man that hates women,
Betsy
right?
Ross.
Yes, but I'm trapped in a man's body. I'm a woman trapped in a man's body.
I can identify. I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body.
I don't hate women. I don't hate women. Women don't belong in high positions of power. They have no women on the Supreme Court. This woman has 7 children. They want to kill her 7 children. She can't. Amy Coney Barrett is a fraud.
Wow.
She's a woman.
So wait, do you support secession or not?
You can't have women in high office. You can't have women in positions of power.
Okay,
Women are
but
the
do you
fair-
support
the
secession?
fair sex, right? Why are we talking over each other? Why don't you let me speak? What a shitty show.
Oh, you can't say that
do
on the
that.
radio, and we let you speak, lady. Sounded kind of trans, though. 855-450-FREE.
She was
That's
claiming.
855
She got big hands, you think?
855-450-3733. We let plenty of people talk. We're just trying to ask you questions because, you ask questions when you want to have a conversation and understand somebody better. We go on here. We've got Pat. He's in
Margaret
Michigan.
Thatcher seemed like a fine leader.
Pat, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Pat.
Good evening. I had a couple points I wanted to touch on, but that woman gave me a third if you'd bear with me through it all. So anyway.
No, we don't have enough for that.
You're talking
Pick
about,
one.
You're talking about points as far as the necessity and or lack of government. And I agree there's a lot of things that could be thrown in the dumpster of 2020.
Good.
Just lit on fire with the trash along with the rest of this year.
Same
That's
here.
how to go.
Amen.
But my point is if we all got back to a simpler society, y'all know why towns on a map, even little villages and such, are only 20 miles apart?
Walking distance. Horse riding.
Well, no, basically, that's how far you can make it with a horse and a wagon and a load.
Yeah.
Or walking distance if you're hard pressed. Yeah.
Pennsylvania is a really good example of this. You'll find that the bigger towns are spaced out farther, and the smaller towns and the villages. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. There's good YouTube videos.
The other
on
point I wanted to touch on was you guys know where the birth of the interstate highway system came from.
I don't know. Are you going to say Eisenhower at some point?
No,
Okay.
it was Teddy Roosevelt, who my great-grandpa rode with in the Rough Riders in the Spanish-American War.
Yeah,
We
I saw
tried
his
to take
poem
a
to the state on his at the New York Museum of Natural History. It was fascinating.
Yeah, they tried to take an autobahn from coast to coast.
Okay.
And it took them like 62, 68 days.
Wow.
And even back when this country was founded, if you had the wind with you, you could make it from Europe to here in 30-something.
So, Pat, what do you say about secession?
Well, I say I don't know who we would join being here in Michigan except Canada, and we ran them out with the British.
I don't think you have to join the next adjacent state. You can just be your own
Declare
nation.
your independence.
Yeah.
Well, as far as what resources are available to the rest of the world, we're not pressed by hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2/3 of the fresh water on the whole continent. Myself here, I live in the largest drain basin in the lower peninsula. There's 5 fingers of river here, and it all comes out of one mouth. But, of course, we got fiddle foggers damming it up and whatnot, so the salmon
Phil
can't do what
foggers?
they want to do.
What was the word?
I almost slipped.
Okay.
Okay.
Fiddle faddlers.
Thank you, Pat, for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Terry is on with us.
Jammas.
Terry is back here. We had some issues. He wasn't sure what he was calling about. He had a list of things, and then they all, poof, went right out of his head. Terry, pick one thing.
I'm sorry, my boys were asking me a whole bunch of homework questions.
That's all right. That's all right. Pick one thing. You're back on. Go ahead.
The secession deal.
Yeah.
It seems to me that, as painful as this is to admit, because I'm a high mountain Montanan, that Texas is the only place that has the ability to succeed financially and with their utilities.
California probably could pull it off.
Why does everybody only think big states
What
can
about
secede?
Alaska?
No, because California is pulling all of our resources up here in the Great Pacific Northwest.
They get a lot of water from the Pacific Northwest, but they have contracts to do so.
Well, it's not just the water, it's the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really do have some electric problems. Yep. But then they'd have to deal with their own electric problems. I mean, they should have to deal with their own electric problems.
So Texas, unfortunately, I mean, love Texas, love them as a state, but, as a Montanan, I can't love them as a state. You know what I'm saying?
I got it.
They're really the only ones in the position to.
They also have an interesting legal position. I believe Texas is the only state that has a provision in their constitution or whatever that basically says they can secede. New Hampshire has a right to revolution, but that's much more murky.
Right.
Terry, anything else you want to share tonight?
Thank you guys for letting me back on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you for the call here tonight. Yeah, so secession is definitely something that people need to be talking about. It is an idea that's time has come. But I got to reject this concept that only Texas can have a success at seceding from the United States. May I remind you that the world is full of countries that are much smaller than Texas, that do not have the GDP of many of the American states. There are a ton of little places all around the entire planet. I don't know how big Liechtenstein is, but I'm pretty sure it's on
about
much
the size
smaller.
of a county.
Yeah, it's on the very small side of things. What is it, population 30,000 or 50,000 or something like that?
Likely the freest place in the world.
Yeah, it's so free, but it's also so small it doesn't qualify for any of the economic freedom lists.
Right.
So supposedly the guy like this Prince or whatever runs the place. He's supposed to be like an anarchist or something.
Hans. Yeah.
What's that?
Prince Hans. You can find.
You know about this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find his. I think it's the state in the 21st century.
Yeah.
I can't remember his last name.
Are they landlocked in Liechtenstein? Or are they on the water?
Oh, absolutely.
They're landlocked.
Absolutely landlocked.
Okay, see, I don't even know where they are.
Yeah. They're to the west of Switzerland.
So there's the point. You can be a landlocked small state and you can be fine. So there's no reason why any of us can't secede from the United States. This idea of the United States is a failure and it deserves to end. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have two cats, Sweet Pea and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynavite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynavite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynavite, I took the advice from Dynavite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Stamps.com brings the post office and UPS shipping right to your computer. Go to Stamps.com to start a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with promo code FOX. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the page and type in Fox.
Vaccines getting ready to ship. I'm Joe Giro, Fox News. Pfizer preparing to ship out its COVID-19 vaccine on Sunday after getting final FDA approval.
The word is that the shipments of the vaccine will start leaving the dock tomorrow morning. 2.9 million doses will leave. An equal amount have to stay behind in cold storage for that follow-up dose. But 11 months from research to rollout in terms of vaccines and getting it to the public, this process has been very rapid. But all involves stress. That doesn't mean corners were cut or that safety was compromised. Dr. Peter Marks, the director of the Center for Biologics and Research, stressed the vaccines are being made in a manner consistent with the high quality Americans expect with their health care.
Fox's Mike Tobin. President Trump in West Point to do the coin toss for today's Army-Navy game.
Army beat Navy 15-0. Because of the pandemic, the fanfare of the rivalry looked quite different. No long traffic lines or tens of thousands of spectators. The teams originally were set to face off at Philadelphia's Lincoln Financial Field. But because of the limits on outdoor events in Pennsylvania, the roughly 8,000 cadets and midshipmen filled the stands here at this stadium.
Fox's Alex Hogan. The last time Army and Navy played at West Point was 1943. A federal judge in Wisconsin has rejected